WPEN Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic.
Good morning. Thought I'd help you wake up.
It's 6 a.m. and you're listening to The John Kincade Show, Philadelphia's longest-running sports talk morning show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Let the party begin!
The show starts now.
In fact, our friends at Bradford White Water Heaters, they bring you the 6 o'clock hour of The John Kincade Show as we get started this morning. Hopefully, you're enjoying a little bit of the winter chill in the air. Some people really love it. Some people hate it. I think it's sort of just a perfect setup for what is the holiday season. But it's Beat Dallas week, and that's where we begin today. And yesterday, the Eagles got some reinforcement. And I would just say this. The celebrations online about signing Shaq Leonard just made me just sort of roll my eyes a bit. If you watch Shaq Leonard, I know Bob was looking at some. He's going to share some thoughts on it too. He's not the player he was 3 years ago. Is he better than what you had? Sure. But people are acting like it's an impact, like big impact move that's going to help this team. This team's got bigger problems than just adding Shaq Leonard to the mix is going to fix. What he has left in the tank, who knows? What I do know is I would think he's going to be an upgrade. But to me, what worries me is it does seem for a roster that was in the Super Bowl last year, it does seem like a little cut and paste, desperate move. Nicholas Morrow added, led the Eagles defense in a few games with some really, really nice plays. He had some good games this year. He had a terrible game on Sunday. It's worse when you watch the All-22 stuff. It's terrible. But all these moves, the Julio Jones move, the Shaq Leonard move, I haven't seen much from Byard. And an improvement over what you had, sure. But I'm not seeing much. I haven't seen much from Byard either. I want to see this Eagles coaching staff, more importantly, start to find a way to use what they've got. And by the way, they have a lot of great tools. Sean Desai has a hell of a lot less than Brian Johnson has. But I sort of want to see them get what they got. Because the Shaq Leonard thing yesterday, Bob, just got me going, yeah, you're great. He's definitely better than what you got. But I didn't see a lot. And there are videos you can watch of his performances the last couple years. It doesn't seem like you're getting an impact guy, but he's better than what you had.
And at this point of the season, that's all you can kind of ask for. It's not like you're going to get a game changer.
Right.
You're not going to
can't trade.
Yeah, if you're improving on what you have, okay, that's the best you can ask for right now. And when what you have isn't performing at even an average level,
no,
you're looking to get that to there. Yeah, I did watch a lot of stuff on Leonard yesterday. Seems like he still has the instincts. It's like I said, all of us as athletes when we get older, your mind knows where your body wants to be. Sometimes your body just doesn't cooperate and get there. He seems to kind of get there a lot, but he's, either a half step away or whatever it may be and not being able to get his whole body to where he's supposed to be in a lot of arm stuff. He's got his arms. My God, I think they go down to his ankles.
He's like a raptor. It's like when you he really is. He's got like a wingspan, as they would say.
And when we get into the Speak for Yourself later on from Nick Sirianni yesterday, he talks about that, and maybe it is something that's going to help them with coverage and all. But you said it, John. Okay, is it an upgrade? Maybe even just slight. That's okay. I mean, at this point of the season, and you're the team that you are, even if it's a slight upgrade, that's okay. Then better than nothing.
I look at it and just say, though, it doesn't seem like if I'm looking at Super Bowl champions. So I went back and looked at roster moves of the Chiefs, the 2 years they won, the Bucs the year they won, and everything. It doesn't seem like many Super Bowl champions are going out and saying, let's fix this, let's fix this, let's fix this. That's not a bad thing that Howie wants to be proactive. it's what his MO is. But, Pat, it certainly isn't what we see from Super Bowl champions. They're usually set by now, and they're usually playing their best ball of the season right now, going in we're in Dallas week and sort of struggling to figure out who we are.
Yeah, but there's usually not a player of Shaq Leonard's caliber on the open market this late in the season. I was surprised that the Colts released him. And yeah,
what does that tell you, too, by the way? They're in a playoff hunt, and they're on a 4-game winning streak.
He didn't really fit the scheme, but he's not – you guys are right. Like, he's not what he was 3 years ago, but all I care about is he's an improvement over what they currently have. And if he's an improvement over what they currently have, yeah, it's a little tiny improvement, but, you add up a couple little tiny improvements, and you might get a medium improvement.
I think he should be absolutely an improvement over what you got. And if he isn't, then that's a real problem.
If he isn't, that's.
But you didn't give up anything. It's not like you went out there. The weird thing to me is that again and NFL Network had it yesterday. Like they said 5 teams had reached out to him. I was a little surprised by that, but I then started to say, okay, let's look at the playoff teams because that's what we were talking about yesterday, and let's look at their linebacking core. And it really does seem like the Eagles have the worst of any of the 14 teams that were currently in playoff position yesterday. That the Eagles have the worst linebacking core of any of those teams. And you know what? These good teams, like good offensive teams, like the Bills, like the 49ers, are finding ways to exploit it. And I wonder if it ends up all the great moves that Howie makes, his disinterest in the linebacker position is going to end up what harpoons this team from being able to complete its final goal.
Could be. We know that they want to build within the trenches, both sides of the ball.
Which is a good strategy, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good strategy. But then you also sprinkled in on the offensive side a great trade to get A.J. Brown, a great draft to get Devontae Smith, another really good trade to get DeAndre Swift, a quarterback who's doing what he does. That's great. The trenches that you built on the defensive side of the ball, what have you sprinkled around it?
Yeah, exactly.
You're kind of like, okay, Slay and Bradbury had great seasons last year. You had to have a backup plan for that because they are in their 30s.
And they do have the oldest corner pair in the NFL.
Yeah, so.
Which isn't, again, he went against conventional wisdom. Andy Reid always got rid of guys early. Bill Belichick got rid of guys early, and he doubled down. And it seems to be they're both getting exploited.
Oh, Joe Banner, when you turned 30, forget it. Your pink slip was, waiting for you. As soon as you blew out the candles at 30, that's the way
he came to the party.
Yeah, that's the way the Eagles used to run that way. But yeah, look, we said it before the season started. Everybody said it. Everybody out there listening knew it, that they didn't address the safety spot and they didn't address the linebacker spot. And it seems to be as egregious as saying, well, we got a great offensive line, but we're not going to address the wide receiver position, the running back position. It's almost that.
I wonder, Pat, if he went into the season saying, I have such a Ferrari of an offense that we're going to win this year 38-35, and I'm not going to care about it. Because there are teams that have done that. The Colts have done that before.
Yeah, a few.
Other franchises have done that. We're going to outscore people, and I'm going to be okay with it. It seems like that had to be the strategy.
Maybe. If it was, look, he's a cap wizard, but it does reach a point where you do have to make some tough decisions on where you're going to allocate your money. But I didn't think the defense was going to be that bad this season, and it hasn't. It's been okay.
Oh,
but I felt like they did return a decent amount of guys, and
right.
They just haven't really performed up to even the level I thought they were going to. But then again, the entire team hasn't.
That's where it's at for me, is that the people who are talking about it, and Pat's got a topic later we're going to get into, so I'm not going to burn this up now. But I want the whole idea of, and I kept saying it in October, November, now we're in December. We haven't come together yet. We haven't played to the standard. We heard it from Jalen Hurts yesterday. We haven't met the standard. We're not playing to the standard. This team hasn't set a standard. They have not played 4 quarters of football all year. So they haven't set a standard. There is no standard for the 2023 Eagles. There may be one that they talk about behind closed doors, But to me, to be 12 games into the season and not reached your standard is strange. And by the way, that's not how typical Super Bowl champs do either. Like you're trying to figure it out in mid-December.
Well, I think it's injuries come into play also. Every team's looking to make a move if they get injuries. And the Eagles are depleted at linebacker. You had to make a move. I don't know. Other Super Bowl teams, did they get an offensive lineman that got hurt and they made a move that, it doesn't show up, that it was a big move or anything like that? Look at the Eagles when their offensive line in 2017 was, you had a couple guys hurt. And you
lost two starters, right?
Yeah, Wisniewski, he got thrust into the starting position. But, they're depleted at the linebacker spot, and the guys that they have in there aren't performing well. So, yeah, you had to make a move. Whether this is good or bad or indifferent, we'll see. I don't mind the move. I'm not expecting Shaq Leonard to go out there and be the Shaq Leonard of old. I don't even know if I'm expecting him to be any better than what you have here so far. I don't know if we're going to see a difference. But it's a move that you kind of had to make just to give it a try.
It was eye-opening, though, to just go on the depth charts of all the teams on ESPN.com and look at the playoff teams. I think I'd take any linebacking core but the Eagles of the 14 playoff teams that were yesterday in place, which shocked me. Andy's jumping in early this morning. Andy, you want to get in on this linebacker discussion?
Yeah, I do, actually. I don't think Shaq Leonard had a motivation to play for the Colts, and the guy can tackle, and I thought we brought Jeremiah Trotter back, and that kind of worked out.
That bothers me, though. Andy, that bothers me what you assert, because there was some talk about that. As a professional, I sort of don't dig that. And I did read some of that stuff in Indy Star. He wasn't happy with the scheme. The scheme wasn't working for him. And they just decided there was an end of that marriage.
Okay, good work. No problem. Yeah, I just think they can't tackle anything. You have somebody that can tackle, might be a good move.
Yeah, he's got the arm stuff, Bob, was one of the things that was actually in the Indy Star was one of the things they talked about is there was a lot of arm tackling that may have been a loss of a step. Attempts at it, and that's what happens. But they said he was still effective. So if he's effective.
Yeah, he's a great anticipation player. He was when he was really, really good. From the film I was watching yesterday and all, yeah, he reads things. I don't want to sound like the Eagles linebackers, but you can see him hunting the ball. You can see him knowing where the ball is going. Whether his body's able to get to the spot where he wants to be to make a play, that's going to be the question that we're going to find out. We're talking about 2 back surgeries, a lot of football underneath his belt. We'll see.
Is he a guy who, Pat, can they play him Sunday?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd expect him to play Sunday. I'd be shocked if he doesn't play Sunday. I'd be pissed if he doesn't play Sunday.
I anticipate he gets the most snaps of any linebacker.
Like, I wonder how somebody's going to come in here and learn all this in a few weeks.
Yeah, I was thinking of that.
In a few days, excuse me.
I was thinking of that yesterday, too.
How do you do it? They're going to play him.
Yeah, you come in, you study things. Look, this is our terminology. When we did this, when you went to a cover 2 in Indy, what was the linebacker read on that? He'll tell them that, and they'll say, okay, well, this is how we call it. This is our terminology. Yeah, is there some things, but it comes down to bet. Like, I described it one time. A Sixers player came over when I was covering the team. I said, how long does it take to learn it? He goes, they call a backdoor 7 instead of backdoor. Okay, I think I know how to run a backdoor. You know what I mean? Right. I'm simplifying it, but he's a linebacker. I have no problem with saying, hey, Shaq, go in there, see ball, get ball, tackle ball.
Is he green dot?
I doubt it.
Yeah, Morrow's got to keep that right.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just
doesn't know the terminology yet.
And so Christian Ellis. What about Christian Ellis? Is he like people are making?
He might have been your best linebacker this past weekend.
People are making grand judgments on Christian Ellis. I'm like, come on, dudes. Like, give him time. Give the guy time.
You don't have time though.
I know with him though, but with Ellis, evaluations of Ellis have to have time because he had some really good plays, and he had some bad ones. But Nick Morrow had bad ones too. It's the way it goes. You've got to be ready for it. If you have a thought on how you feel about that move, we will take it at 610-632-0975 as the Eagles add to their team. There is something, though, that Bob wants to say about Flushing. Pat, I don't know if this is a Mets topic or if it's something about the Birds or something else. I think Pumpman Philly's going to be on the line with us. John Kincade Show coming up next here on 97.5 The Fanatic. You know it's getting colder outside, and every morning when the Gift card today in the 9 o'clock hour. We're going to change it up a little bit today. So, Pat, you got a little homework because you got the 6 o'clock hour one. You'll give it after the next break. Today, we're going to make a Wawa order for Andrew Salchunas. You, me, and Bob will all pick an item for Andrew. And we'll make a lunch order or dinner order or whatever for Andrew Salchunas, 3 items. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, you'll call in and you'll be able to recant every single thing that you heard. So Pat will take the 6, Bob will take the 7, I'll take the 8. And then in the 9, you'll have a chance to win. So it'll be Andrew Salchunas today getting the Wawa order. We'll see if we all get something that he likes. We'll ask him when he comes in. Did we get something that he actually likes? So I have to ask you something, Bob, about this Kelly Oubre story. Keith Pompey did a really nice job in the Inquirer, and I think everybody should check it out. Kelly Oubre Jr. will be back. He's talking about his hit and run. He said, I wish my life wasn't the Truman Show, where everybody can kind of watch it and have their own opinion. A lot of people are very inconsiderate and insensitive to try to worry about video cameras and stuff about something happening in my life. It's very detrimental to me. And then he says, he goes, I'm very happy that I can get back to work, smile, and talk and breathe. That's what I have to say about the conspiracy theorists. When you say something happened to you, and then people go, okay, let's go verify. This is a big deal. You got hit by a car, and then there's no evidence of it. I don't think people are being conspiracy theorists to ask questions about it. And I don't know if I'm going to take him at his word that he's telling the truth. But when you say, this is what happened to me, and this is where it happened, and this is the time it happened, and there's no evidence of it, then to me, it's not a conspiracy theorist for people to ask questions about what the hell actually happened.
I think you overstated a little bit. You're not the Truman Show. People aren't on you 24/7 about things. It's a weird situation, and if he wants the media that covers the team and the fans that follow the team to lay off and believe that, all right, something happened, the police are still looking into it, they can't find any evidence, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, I guess.
But if something Bob, if I said I got knifed on a corner or somebody robbed me at the corner of 17th and Walnut, and it happened. When did it happen? It happened in, it was like 7:30, something like that. It was Saturday night. And they look at the tape for hours, and nothing like that happens on that. Then people have a right to go, okay, what the hell really happened? I mean, and I don't think they're being conspiracy theorists.
No, if he's talking about people saying specifically that something else happened, then, I can understand his angst or his, trepidation of talking about it. I don't know. It's a very, very weird situation. I'm not going to pretend to have answers.
No, none of us have answers.
I told you I made some phone calls after it happened, and I got nothing, really. Is it a case of they're just trying to shut it down because they can't find anything? Maybe. If there's nothing there, what's there more to really talk about? I mean, one of the people I talked to, a source that I talked to, said it usually comes up. It might take a little while, but something usually comes up. Well, it's been 3 weeks now, and nothing's really come up.
Nothing's coming up, and more importantly, it's not. Nobody's been obsessing on this. It definitely had a hot 24, 48 hours.
Sure,
but then it's nobody's even talked about it for weeks.
No, when you hear a player, I mean, I remember seeing the crawl and my phone not blowing up, but on my phone the alert saying hit by a car.
We were worried about him.
Yeah, and injuries. You're like, oh, my God, what the hell happened? And now it seems to be far less than the way it started. That's a good thing. It's a good thing that he wasn't hurt all that bad if, whatever happened. I'm sure the story will come out at some point.
At some point we'll get to it. Congratulations to the Flyers. Winning overtime games against the Pittsburgh Penguins back-to-back. Pat, it's not a... people are, and there are people on Twitter that are complaining about, this team's winning when, we're supposed to be a rebuild. I'm impressed.
No, this isn't the year.
I'm impressed, though, to see it.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of games that you saw last night from this team because they're going to fight, but this isn't the, quote-unquote, let's tank year.
Yes, it's not. There's no Bedard, right?
Yeah, well, no, there's no Bedard, but there's also, look at the roster. It's not It's not a roster bad enough to tank.
Correct.
To get a guy. You know, you had Couturier back who had the game winner yesterday. You had Atkinson back. It's a different team, and for anybody out there, you know, still banging the drum that like this team is a process level.
Come on,
Sixers team. It's well coached, and they actually do have talent. So it ain't gonna happen.
They're fun to watch. I mean, I watched that whole game.
I think they're sort of fun to watch
night.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the whole game. Got into overtime, and the play that they called off of the face-off was really cool, and I'm anxious to ask Torts about that.
Just
when he
wrapping
comes
it around
on
the
later.
boards.
Yeah, but if you like before the face-off, they all came and talked to each other, and Konechny was like, you know, I saw him talking. I'm like thinking to myself, all right, what kind of strategy are you doing here 3-on-3? And does it get thrown out the window if you don't win the face-off? They win the face-off, and it was a sprint out by 2 and a wraparound. I don't know if it was Sanheim. And just a marvelous play to get a 2-on-1, and then Couturier finishes it off.
Well, wait
They're
a minute.
fun.
You said you're going to ask Torts. You're going to ask Torts this morning?
Yeah, 8:45.
8:45 this morning.
So we're gonna have to break early at that 8:40.
We will
break,
do that.
John.
We'll make sure we get out of there early, and Pat will advise us on to get after that. There is something though that Bob wants to talk about, and Pumpman Philly, really wants to get involved with this if it leads to where it goes, because Bob says he doesn't want to hear about flush.
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's corner.
Now,
Yeah,
Bob,
and
you
I'm
have to
kinda-
flush. And a courtesy flush would be really nice.
I'm kind of happy that, and we'll do Speak for Yourself later, but I didn't really do this part of it. We'll do Speak for Yourself with Nick Sirianni.
7:30.
But he didn't. They're not flushing this one. They're not saying, yeah, it was one of those efforts. You just flush it. I would flush this game if it was the game against the Jets. I would flush this game if, like, the New England Patriots came in here and did something and you were like, whoa, what happened there? I would use the excuse of that's our third game in 14 to 13 days. All of those things I would drum up and say, flush it, forget about it. But no, you went against a formidable opponent, someone you would have called an equal going into Sunday.
Absolutely.
And you got your asses kicked. And no, I don't flush getting my ass kicked. I got to use it as a learning tool. I have to make changes. I have to see what was done in the previous 11 games. How does it get better? Were you getting by with, look, we can put it out there. Were you getting by with luck? Should you have lost, or could you very well have lost 2 or 3 more games had catches been caught by the opponents? Whatever. This is a learning point to me. And maybe it came at a good time, like we were trying to say yesterday. Pat brought it up, if you're going to try to find a positive. But no, flush this game would be a huge mistake in my eyes.
Oh, I would agree with you.
I would almost spend as much time on this game between Sunday and Sunday as I do looking forward to the Dallas Cowboys.
The only thing I'm worried about is the fact is sometimes when you dwell on the negative thing, it overwhelms you a little bit. And I really want the focus to be on Dallas. So I'm trying to figure out what's best to do, because you didn't play well against Dallas last time. You won, but you didn't play that well against
Well, that's the synopsis of your season. You won, but you didn't play well.
Right.
I mean, they talk standard. According to them, they haven't played up to their standard yet this year. So that's saying, okay, we haven't played, I don't want to say well, but we haven't played the perfect game that we think we can play. It's probably a mistake on my part and probably not going to happen. But honest to God, as a coach, no, I'm dwelling on this game, looking for improvement as much as I'm preparing for the Dallas Cowboys.
Pat,
because there's no preparation for the Cowboys if you play the way you did on Sunday. It doesn't matter.
Where do you fall on that, Pat? What Bob's saying, I mean, you agree with that? Is I want the focus to be on Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a large portion of the focus on Dallas. You can't just ignore what happened on Sunday, and you probably should be motivated by it. And if you're not, there's an issue. So I like the fact that they're just not completely turning the page on it, not using probably the excuses that they do have, because they got whooped. And I agree. I don't think you turn the page with this one. I think Jets game, yeah, sure, why not, right? Like, it happens, gets mixed up in the schedule, whatever. But when you get whooped like that, nah, man, that should be living in your head a little bit for the rest of the season.
I don't love the saying, no matter the sport, it was just one of those days. It was just one of those games. But I do understand it. This wasn't one of those days. This was the day. This was the game. That's my teaching point. Like, man, you can't show up like that on those type of games, on that type of day. You just can't. And they did. And so, yeah, I'm not saying harp on the negative so much, but in my preparation for Dallas, I am certainly going back to this game against San Francisco and making learning points and teaching points off of it. I'm not flushing it. No chance, no way.
I like your point of view on that. I just, as long as it doesn't distract from Dallas. I got to tell you, there is one thing, though, I wanted to get to. Is if you haven't seen the video of the 49ers players going off before the game, pregame, and exiting, and they walk through the defensive, practice group of the Eagles, and multiple players make contact with James Bradbury, and he just stands there, and none of the Eagles step in and get involved. I'm a little shocked by that. They're standing right there. Like, Ricks is right there to be able to get involved. It's as if none of the Eagles cared about what happened, and that's one of your teammates, and they're bumping into him disrespectfully, and Bradbury's just shaking his head like, okay, but a man's like disrespectfully bumping into him. By the way, they bumped into Ricks too, and they just stood there. That really pissed me off, honestly, seeing it.
Well,
that nobody had an answer to that.
There's a time to fight and there's a time to evaluate. And when you see 15 to 20 49ers coming back, and the two guys you just described are 6 foot and 180 pounds, there's a time to evaluate. And I think there was an evaluation there saying
where are the other guys
18 to 2.
On this?
I don't know where the other guys were. I would have liked to have seen a bum rush from the Eagles coming over.
Three
and saying,
standing there.
Yeah, 3 against 20.
No, but there's 3 standing there behind Bradbury. And even Ricks gets disrespected. And they literally just throw a shoulder right into them, and both of them just stand there.
Like I said, man, there's like 15 to 20.
Right there, too.
Yeah, there's 15 to 20 49ers there. That might be an evaluation time when the big fatties aren't there around you to help you out. I hear you. I would have loved to have seen somebody come running out and shove some Niners out of the way. They came in with talk. They came in with bravado. They came in with an attitude, and the Eagles, quite frankly, didn't stand up to it.
It's one thing that Pat said in his notes, and Pat, all the talk from the 49ers, I mean, they did. They came in and they backed it up.
Yeah. It sucks. I don't like it, but, credit to them. I mean, all week long, leading up to that game, I kept saying, all right, you talked for 10 months, 11 months. You better back it up. And boy, did they ever back it up.
I think they more than backed it up.
They absolutely did. I mean, and you have the one guy that was popping off more than anybody in Deebo Samuel go off in that game for 3 touchdowns. Yeah. There's getting punched in the mouth, and then there's getting punched in the mouth and absolutely embarrassed, and
the video
doing it in front of your hometown, and that's what happened.
I mean, and it drives you nuts because now the 49ers are they your team that you just can't you can't even picture
loathe
now.
Them.
Yeah.
I loathe the 49ers. Fan base, team, coach, you name it. Yeah, they're the number one on the pecking order right now of like hate.
They've taken the spot. But you also have respect for what they did Sunday.
I mean,
it sounds like you have respect for them.
Well, you go into enemy territory and you put 42 up on the board after talking a lot. It's hard to go, all right. I mean, that was pretty impressive. I mean, at some point, you kind of just started laughing about how bad it was going. But, yeah, they have taken the number one spot by far of hate. And that might just be because I don't view Dallas as a legitimate threat. I think the Eagles will get the number one seed, and I think Dallas has to go on the road in the playoffs, and they never really play that well on the road in the playoffs. So I don't really view them, but the way that 49ers team talked, and then the way that the fan base talked, and then on top of it, the way they backed it up. Yeah, they're number one. I
got to say I respect it, though, Bob, is that if players talk the talk and then walk the walk, I respect it because you're going out on a limb. You're doing that. I would prefer my team not be a talking team, that they just be a team that goes out there and shows out. But if you've got that bravado and if you've got that swagger and then you back it up, you get to do all the talking you want. You should be able to. You get to do it all.
And why are they doing it against the Eagles? What do they see? Do they see a softness there? Do they see something that, well, they're not going to come back at you?
They bumped into them. They disrespected them. They're throwing shoulders into guys, and the guys aren't even reacting to them. I mean, they feel like they could bully. That was pregame. They could bully the Eagles, and they did. They bullied them all around.
It's funny. A loss like this brings out so many things. People are questioning Howie now. Well, why didn't he address the linebackers and on? And are the Eagles a soft team? They don't have anybody that can really hit. One loss brings out a lot of stuff, doesn't it? And I haven't heard all season long that Howie wasn't good. I haven't heard all season long that this team is soft. I'm not people that are saying that, I am not putting you down. I'm wondering, did this game show things that we weren't ready to believe all season long?
Yeah, if you think that if you're one of those people and you want to respond, you can at 610-632-0975. I don't think I don't like calling another man soft, because I sure as hell couldn't get out there and take that kind of physical beating. But I think the approach of the Eagles may be a little soft, maybe a little that they don't punch back. They're not a team I mean, the way teams are running through this defense right now, there's no intimidation factor. Ryan Clark on ESPN had something to say yesterday. You got that soundbite, Pat, he had something to say about the Eagles after the game. And I so want to disagree with him, because Ryan tends to, I think, goes a little over the top sometimes. So wanted to disagree with him, but I don't think I can. I really don't. He was ultra aggressive on criticizing the Eagles. Pat's going to find that for us. And he went on them. He went absolutely after them. There you go.
The other thing that I noticed last night, the play caller matchup was such a mismatch. Yeah. Kyle Shanahan versus Sean Desai, Steve Wilkes versus Brian Johnson. Or if you take them parallel, what the offensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers did compared to the Philadelphia Eagles should be abuse. If there was able to be abuse on the football field, that's what it was. If they don't step up in that part of the game as well as the guys on the roster, that game will never be close.
Again, two inexperienced coordinators, and they got exposed. Where they be? Ryan Clark goes over the top sometimes, but he didn't get pushback on the panel. He got no pushback. Everybody else was agreeing, going, it looked really bad. It looked like a complete, from the time Kyle Shanahan, the second possession, and it was over, then Shanahan was like, oh, I see what they're doing. We're fine.
We can say it's one game. I have no problem with people that, and I had some, say to me, yeah, I don't think they're coming out of the NFC. I just don't see it now. After that one game, after how badly they got exposed, I don't see it. I'm not going to fight back and say, what are you talking about? It's one game. No, that's how exposed they were to me also. I'm not going to go out. I never said they were going to win the Super Bowl, or I said I thought they were probably the best team in the NFC to come out of it, and that they were the only team that could beat themselves. But, man, this was an ass-kicking that you don't forget. This is like, honest to God, to me, and there's a lot of people out there that can't relate to this because it's before their time, and Pat too, but it's Mike Tyson getting knocked out by Buster Douglas. It's not one of those, oh, man, he got caught up. No, he exposed him. Mike Tyson could get beat with a good jab. And after that, Mike Tyson was
vulnerable,
not even close to what he was before that.
There was a lot going into that, Bobby.
Yeah, did the Eagles get exposed? So much so that other teams are going to, know, like Pat just said a little bit ago. Yeah, the Cowboys don't worry me.
Wow,
I don't know, man. And maybe it's recent hurt.
When's the last time they swept the Cowboys? I can't even remember. I mean, I don't even remember the last time this team swept the Cowboys.
And
they don't tend to play their best at Texas Stadium. They do tend to score down there, though. Their offense gets going.
They put some points on Seattle last week, but they also gave up, 35?
Yeah, there's some every winning team that started the game, winning team, I think has scored 35 on them. So there's a lot of defense. There should be a lot of over bets coming up this weekend. This guy is going to be back in Philadelphia. He's going to have an extra year of cushion. The question is, are you happy about it? We'll talk about him next. John Kincade Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic. Right now, the Birds just had their second loss.
Group Station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Who's he? That's getting a contract extension. We'll talk about it here. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Pat Egan is going to give us the 6 o'clock hours order for Andrew Saltunis. We're making the Wawa order for the Tunis today.
Mm-hmm.
Pat, where do you go first in the 6 a.m. hour?
I'm going to go with a little appetizer.
Oh.
All right. I'm going to go with the toasted ravioli.
Oh, that's a great one.
It's a great item.
Oh, that is a great
elite.
item. When you walk in and find that in the
It's good
in
living.
the rack there, that is always a good thing. Bobby, you had not tried that before, I thought. That you had not tried that yet?
The ravioli from there?
That's the toasted ravioli.
I have not tried it.
I would tell you
No.
it is an exceptional item.
Yeah?
Yeah, on the fly, it's an exceptional item.
Yeah, just grab and go. Oh,
You're a little hungry. You're not hungry for a
just a
full
little
meal,
snack.
and you want a little snack. And it's right there, and they have it in the warmer, so it's nice and warm. Get that. By the way, God bless me last night. The Jacksonville Jaguars lost. So I wake up this morning. I had already went to bed, and I'm like, okay, they're.
I watched the game.
You did.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, I'm going to bed going, there's no way they're winning this game.
It's not every day you get C.J. Beathard versus
Oh, my gosh. Terrible.
whoever the quarterback was for Cincinnati that I already forgot.
And Liv sends me, Daddy, you won. You got half the pool. Unbelievable. So the other finalists lost, so I got half the pool. That's backing in. That is backing in the worst way.
I'll tell you what, I watched the first half last night, and I watched the Manning broadcast. Those guys are so damn good. I could watch those two.
Good on
have
what?
Fun.
What is it that, like, is
It's
it the
just
fun?
Well, first of all, it's fun. Second of all, they're doing a really cool thing with their cleats, kids with cancer and stuff like that. So very good there. And then just like Peyton, the way he watches a game, the way the two of them watch a game, it is so fun it's such a learning lesson. It's kind of like why I don't mind Tony Romo as much as the next guy, because I do, if you get past the stuff that you don't like, if you listen, he does teach you stuff about the game.
Oh, absolutely.
Look how two linebackers are going over. That means the safety's coming up. He's got to look over to the right side. And then when it happens, you're like, oh, man, okay. I'm going to remember that next time that might be what a team is looking for. The kid Browning last night, the way Peyton Manning was kind of rooting for him. And it wasn't rooting for him in particular. It was rooting for a quarterback who's an underdog and all that. They're just cool.
Yeah, they do a
they're
great job.
fun to watch, yeah.
I wonder if there will be a competing broadcast with the Kelseys at some point. Because they're going to do something. But so yesterday, the Phillies signed Rob Thompson to an extension through 2025. Having a lame duck manager in baseball is absolutely not ideal. They only extend him the 1 year, so he's not going to be a lame duck manager. But I want to know what you think of Rob Thompson today. You've gotten to see 2 regular seasons for the most part, almost complete, 2 postseasons. Because in my belief system, I'm skeptical of his decision-making, especially in big moments. And I admire the way he came in here after Joe Girardi and just created an atmosphere that has been positive for the Phillies. There's a ton of positive check marks in the Rob Thompson column. But success in clutch moments, having his team ready to go or being able to get guys out of funks or do those kind of things, whether it's psychological or otherwise, I do question. And I wonder if we're just going to see it again. Because we've seen it 2 years in a row in the biggest moments. And I wonder if we're going to see it again. Lots of positives with Rob Thompson, though. Tons. And they had to give him the extension. I don't question that at all. That had to be done.
I like him, yeah. He took a team that you'd never expected to the World Series. Last year, you had a team built kind of for it, but only one team out of 32 wins, and they weren't the one last year. I'll take a guy that's taken you to the World Series and Game 7 of a league championship series anytime, yeah. Is this stuff kind of unorthodox at times? Yeah, but if it wasn't, would they have been where they were? Maybe not.
What matters more, though? Is it the journey or is it the absolute goal and how you performed in the biggest moments, Pat? Like for you as a fan.
The journey for sure, because I mean the 10 years before that sucked. Yeah, look, he's frustrating as hell. He kind of reminds me of the Eagles. He'll frustrate you in the moment, and then the end result usually ends up being pretty good for your team. So you go to the World Series, you end up coming one game from a back-to-back trip. It seemed like a likely scenario that he would be extended. Like I wasn't surprised by this move. The next extension's got to be Wheeler, but yeah, it's a show of good faith. I think back to the movie Moneyball when Philip Seymour Hoffman goes to Billy Beane and says, like, look, man, I'm on a 1-year deal. It's not a lot of faith there. You know what it's like from a player standpoint. So Rob Thompson now has a little security, and we'll see if he can improve on some of his mistakes. He's gotten a trip to the World Series doing unorthodox stuff, and then it kind of cost him. So let's see if he can kind of find a middle ground there.
I just wonder about finishing the deal and having your worst efforts at the end. You did it in 3 games against Houston in the World Series, and you did it in 2 games against the Arizona Diamondbacks. I still can't believe that team lost to the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm not over it. Other people are over it. I'm not over it. That was a colossal just collapse, and I don't understand it. I still can't understand how the bats just went dead like that. Because it was exactly what happened against Houston. Except in Houston, you got no hit. You got no hit here in Game 4 of the World Series. It's one I still can't understand it. How somehow Arizona managed to knock that team out.
Yeah, that was one of the worst. It rivals Eagles losing to Tampa in the last game at the Vet. It rivals so many things. I can't explain it either, but the majority of my angst on that certainly doesn't go towards Rob Thompson.
Where would it go? More to your big bats?
Well, yeah, he had an 0 for 22 streak from Castellanos. You had like 3 or 4 bats in the lineup that went silent the last 3 games.
They brought in 2 more batting instructors yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. How many?
A lot of cooks in the kitchen.
How many do you need? How bad is it? Well, I know how bad is it. We've seen it in clutch moments. But I mean, seriously, they've got like 2 guys now backing up long, and
I bet you that's probably the norm if you look at coaching staffs around baseball. It's probably similar.
Yeah,
they probably have multiple guys.
Well, I mean, usually though they're roving, Pat. Like in a baseball organization, they will rove around. Like they'll go visit AAA. Yeah. They'll visit
the roving instructors.
Yeah, and they have those guys that send them down to AA, work with this guy, send him. One thing yesterday that John Morosi, I heard.
From MLB.com.
Yeah, he was wildly incorrect yesterday. I will absolutely dispute one of his reports. The Braves are not in on Shohei Ohtani. The Braves are not in the mix for Shohei Ohtani. There's no Shohei mania going to go on. That they are not going to sign Ohtani. I was surprised yesterday when I heard the breaking news. I'm like, what? Why is he reporting the Braves are going to do that? They're not doing it. So you're not going to have Shohei playing for the Braves. I don't think the Mets seem like they're real contenders for it, Pat. Doesn't look like it.
No, I'd be surprised.
I mean,
you never know.
It looks like he's going to stay out west. Somebody's going to be out there. Could it be Dodgers? Could it be Angels? Could it be Seattle?
I think it's either Dodgers, Angels, Giants are a real threat.
Giants are a threat, yeah.
I mean, San Fran tried to get Aaron Judge. They struck out. They need a star. They need a draw. Ohtani would be it.
Let's just get him in the
Seattle.
AL, right?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much named everybody. Angels, Seattle. There's 2 AL teams.
Let's find a nice landing spot for him in the AL. I do not want to see him in the National League, even though he didn't win anything in the American League because the organization that was around him didn't provide enough. Hey, the 7 a.m. hour brought to you by the all-new BetParx app. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Sam from England's checking in. Sammy, you got a trip coming. Everybody's going to be coming out to see you this time around in next June.
Yeah, it's perfect timing because today I'm actually the UK Phillies guy, Dave, who lives near me, is meeting Chase Utley as we speak, and we are promoting MLB Europe today in London. So I'm heading to London shortly, and we're doing a quiz against some Mets fans, some American that live here and some UK ones. And yeah, we're going up against them and doing a bit of promotion for it. So yeah, it's great. I'm looking forward to it. It's made up for the Birds game anyway. You know, having a bit of excitement after.
Well, leading up
and being upset.
Leading up to that, you're gonna have to be our correspondent and tell people like where to eat, where to stay, where to hang out. You know, you're gonna have to give us some of those insights. But what's your insights on Rob Thompson?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head. Like, there's some moments, touch moments where you question some of his decision making. You know, like pitching and things like that. I've questioned before when he's pulled pitches early. Was it Suarez in one of the series earlier this season where he pulled a bit early when he was doing well, and I just think, could he have left him in there? Is there maybe he plays on analytics more than what I thought he would. I thought he'd be more old school because of where he came from and, you know, that sort of thing. But with Girardi, didn't seem like he would be an analytics guy. So I don't know. I think he's a positive. I think, like Bob said, you take it, someone's taken you and led you to playoffs and close to back-to-back World Series. Granted, we didn't win it, but close to it. I'll take that every day of the week. And
over what
I seem to like him.
Yeah, and over what we had. Sam, good luck and have a good time today. As Pat pointed out, the 10 years before.
Wasn't pretty.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
Well, it's not pretty.
But I feel like it's weird. Is you tell me about the 2022 season, I will reflect back on it with joy. I'll look at the 2023 season and not. I think it was a colossal failure, losing that series to the Diamondbacks. Everything in your favor, coming home up 3-2. Like, to me, I don't look at the 2023 season the way other people do. Yeah, there were times that were great enjoyment. Like beating the Braves again was great enjoyment. Personally, I loved it. But the 2022 and 2023 season, I look at them completely differently. That was a slide last year. That was an inexcusable loss of a series. And I think people took it as, well, it was a great ride. It very, very casually. To me, that was a wasted opportunity.
Well, if you're building a foundation, having the success that they did over the past 2 years is vital to it. You did beat the number one team in the National League again in a playoff.
In baseball.
Yeah. It's your first year with Trey Turner. You had a rookie starting in center field. Was that loss disappointing as all hell? Absolutely. But I do see it still a good part of building a foundation.
I want to ask you now as we get, it is Beat Dallas week. And it was just a question that came into my mind yesterday. And it is looking ahead. And these are the things that Bob hates. But you got to look ahead sometimes when you're looking at a team. Do you think the outcome of this season will hasten or delay decisions by the Eagles and some of their veterans on retirement? What the veterans do, and more importantly, what the Eagles do. Let's put it this way. If the season ends in disappointment, does that force Howie to get aggressive and make more bolder changes? Does a win, like if the Eagles were to get back to another Super Bowl, win or to lose it, does that win create a nostalgia tour of wanting to keep the guys around, sort of what was done this year? How much, and to the veterans, does a veteran make a decision based on winning or losing? I'm wondering about that as we head down the home stretch of this season. Not only how this Eagles team's going to play, but honestly, how this Eagles team's going to look in the future based on the outcome of this year and how it changes everything. Like this, if they were to get home field advantage and then lose in their first playoff game, does that cause them to say, okay, we need to make wholesale changes? We need to make some really big changes, bold ones, get rid of some of these older veterans and do things. I don't know where he's going to go, Bob, and I don't know how much that's going to have to do with it.
Well, I don't think the older veterans, I don't think that decision's up to Howie. I think it's up to the older veterans. I mean, I don't think a Lane Johnson, a Kelsey, maybe Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, if those guys go to him and say, yeah, I want one more year, I have a hard time thinking Howie's going to say, nah, we're good. Can you draft guys? And look, those guys at their positions, Kelsey and Johnson are still really good at their positions. Cox is being used as a kind of a utility guy, probably playing a little bit more than you wanted to, but he's playing well. And Brandon Graham's not seen the field all that much.
He has been making some impact, though, both him and Fletcher, right? I mean,
the upgrades that you need aren't at the positions of those veterans. The upgrades that you need are linebacker, in your defensive secondary. Those are where you have to upgrade this team. So I think no matter the outcome, whether it's a Super Bowl victory, whether it's a playoff loss, no matter the outcome, I think it's pretty well written on the wall where you need to improve this team.
Pat, is this do you look at it as you're going to be watching one final ride here of December and January?
I absolutely do. Yeah.
Like wholesale? Like you're talking like wholesale, and a lot of the veterans?
I would say the majority of veterans, this is it. I think Kelsey's absolutely done.
I think he's done.
I would put Lane at probably 75%.
You think Lane will go the same year as Kelsey?
Yeah.
Wow.
Would be surprised.
Don't haunt me like that.
No, I'm. This brings me no joy.
Don't scare me. Pat.
I think Fletcher Cox will come back. I get the feeling that Fletcher's going to be kind of a Jason Peters-ish guy that wants to play till he's kind of 40.
Well, he's performing well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's performing at a high standard. BG, I'm not sure about. I put that at 50-50, but for the most part, the two offensive linemen, I think they're done.
And
that sucks.
I was told by somebody that I sort of trust that Brandon Graham wants to come back. Like he's not going to want to retire. And so then what do? You're in that awkward position, Bob, of guys who mean so much to your organization, but do you move on, or do you say, look, what's best for our team is to move on here? We need to get rolling.
It's the discussion you have to have. Is it uneasy? Sure. I mean, Brandon Graham comes in your office and says, I'd like to do a 13th year, and you're Howie, and you look at him and say, well, I don't know. I think we're better off by just bringing up Nolan Smith or somebody else and saying, they need to get more playing time. A difficult decision, but it's one that's why you're the general manager, one that you have to make. But again, like I said, with these older guys, now if Lane Johnson and Kelsey both go in the same year, well, that's crazy. That's tough that you're replacing that, and how do you do it, and who's there to – are you plugging in rookies that are going to start there next year? If so, you're taking a huge step back. But I'd be surprised if any of the veterans that we've named have really thought much about it right now.
Except Kelsey. When you watch the documentary, I think it's clear.
I think while the season's going on, and I think he would agree with this, that you can't let any thoughts of that creep in. You got to get yourself just so set in the season that you've put it out there. You know what it's all about. Season starts. Let me just concentrate on the season.
What do you think about Pat, too, is some people believe that the tip-off was like Kelsey doing TV during the bye week.
Well, I mean, you can make the case, though, that the tip-off, this was a year ago, you can make a case of, there's a tip-off. He's doing a podcast now. And it's a very successful podcast.
By the way, it's doing real well.
Yeah, the dude's trying to figure out what he wants to do after football, and that was one of the points of the documentary was he had all these irons in the fire. He was trying to figure out what he liked best. The podcast ended up being it. So I think he's setting himself up for a career afterwards, which is smart, but I don't necessarily think that is the reason why he's going to be done. I mean, I think he's going to tip off.
So you don't think that like his future, you're saying his future will be there no matter what? Whether he plays 1 more year, 2 more years,
have you ever heard Teddy Bruschi?
Exactly.
He's horrible. Jason Kelsey will be fine.
Pat, we have never discussed that.
Well, you agree on the Teddy Bruschi thing?
Oh.
Yeah, he's brutal.
Drives me crazy.
That guy's had a job for how long?
To me, shallow pool so often on, he's talking about the Eagles the other day, and it seemed like shallow pool of research that was done. It didn't seem like I was getting any insight. I think that it's the Peter King theory, and one of my old coworkers used to always use it as he had the Peter King theory.
What's that?
We know more about the Eagles than Peter King does. But Peter King knows more about the NFL than we do. He knows stuff about every team but Peter King's not watching every Eagles game the way even the fans do. But his theory was Peter King knows more about the NFL, but Peter King doesn't know more about X's and O's and all that kind of things about what the Philadelphia Eagles are doing than even the people who cover them on a daily basis. Because Peter's covering the whole league. And it's not a knock on Peter King. It's just that theory. I get that with Teddy Bruschi. I just always get that.
I got to be honest, and I'm not.
You don't watch those shows, though.
I don't.
I watch the NFL Live a lot. I actually love it. But I got to say, I don't love it after Eagles losses. because it's they're trying to do the but they don't do the hot take stuff on NFL Live, and you get a lot of Orlovsky and the tape study. You get some Swagoo, you get some of the other analysts that are that are in on it. But then you got guys like Ryan Clark, who is just literally burying Sean Desai and Brian Johnson yesterday, just burying them, and he wasn't getting pushback. Like that was one where yesterday I asked the question: was it coaching, or was it the players? Was the coaches or players? Like what was the cause? And yesterday they were almost unanimous that it was coaching. That Shanahan and his staff just absolutely punked Nick Sirianni and his staff. And I don't know how you can make the argument that they didn't. I mean, they dominated them on Sunday. There was no answer. No answer.
No, nothing. Players didn't do anything to overcome where they're supposed to be or where. Look, it's not robotic. It's not like, look, you need to be here, and if they run that play, that's
right.
Some of it has to be reaction. Some of it has to be anticipation. They had none of that from the players on Sunday. And when questioned about 250 of the 300+ yards were after the catches, like where's your tackling? You can design all you want. If the guy isn't going to tackle, how many broken tackles did we see? To me, they got out-coached, but, man, the players weren't there either.
We have a Speak for Yourself with Bob Cooney coming up at the bottom of the hour. We'll find out how Bob reads between the lines of what Nick Sirianni and others had to say yesterday. And, of course, coming up, Pat has a theory of why DeAndre Swift is being handled as he is. We'll find that out next. Stick around, won't you? John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I know this. There is an early line for Sunday Night Football. Bob Cooney has to get something for Andrew Salchunas at Wawa to add to Pat's order.
Why are we getting it for Chunas? Let's get it for ourselves.
No,
He's
when
not
I
up
get
at
it for
3:30 in the morning. Screw him.
That is the truth. I thought it would just be a kind gesture and change things up a bit.
Nah, I don't like being kind.
Well, you got to be kind.
Nah.
You got to be kind.
Nah, let's look out for ourselves.
It's good to be kind.
I'm not doing anything for Chunas. He's still sleeping, bastard.
No, it'll be fine. It'll be right here waiting for him when he gets here, so he can get it up, get rolling in the morning, which will be great. And we'll have him critique who we picked too. The Wawa $50 gift card will be given away in the 9 o'clock hour. You'll have your chance to grab it today. So stay tuned and hear what we have been talking about. We have a Speak for Yourself coming up. That's a reason to stay tuned with Bob Cooney, as he'll read between the lines of, honestly, the most, let's just say, I don't know if it was contentious, but the most interesting Monday after that I've heard this year. So Bob will give you those details coming up towards the bottom of the hour. But Pat is been like junior detective here. And he thinks he's finally figured out maybe what the story is with DeAndre Swift's workload.
This is Pat's point of view. Here's Pat.
Hello, Pat.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have
Have a
you.
seat. This is my point of view. A lot's been made of DeAndre Swift's workload, by myself included, by the way. Sitting there on Sundays wondering why there's so much playing time for Kenny Gainwell. You can't quite figure it out. Doesn't really matter, by the way, if Kenny Gainwell's getting the ball or not. You see the number 14 in the backfield and you go like, what is going on? And then I started wondering if there's a reason for all of this. And maybe there's a deeper meaning of it. If you remember last year, they drove Miles Sanders into the ground. And towards the end of the year and towards the playoffs, Kenny Gainwell was getting the majority of the touches because Miles Sanders was so incredibly banged up. So you combine all of that with the fact that DeAndre Swift's already had more touches than he's ever had in his career. He's at 167 right now. His previous high was 151. I'm starting to wonder if this is just a simple Kenny Gainwell's in there a lot, and we're not seeing a lot of DeAndre Swift because they don't want to make the same mistake they made last year. They don't want to run a running back into the ground that they're eventually going to need come playoff time. So they're trying to kind of conserve his energy a bit.
Do you know the numbers on last year for touches that we had for Sanders? Because it's interesting. He's another guy that they're worried about, being ready. And I think it's a good theory, and it's one that Bob had floated before, that idea of, is that what they're trying to do? I didn't realize the touches, though, have already eclipsed anything he already did.
Yeah, so last year it was bad for Sanders. His previous high was his rookie year at 179.
Okay.
So first year was 179. Second year was 164. Third year, 137. Last year, 259.
Wow.
And
last year of a contract?
Oh, yeah, that's
part
100% what it was. Like, we were just
Break the
driving.
wheel.
Yeah, we don't care. We're not signing this guy.
It's a rental car.
It's almost 100 yards more than he'd ever rushed in his entire career. Now, DeAndre Swift obviously isn't near that. I mean, he's 16 yards over his career high, but you've still got a couple of games to go.
Sure.
I do think this is a concerted effort by the coaching staff, who was kind of forced to throw Kenny Gainwell in there last year in crunch time to go, look, we're going to need this guy. Let's not run him into the ground when we're going to need him in a month. So that's kind of where I'm at with him, because I'm as frustrated as the next person as to why he's not getting touches.
It's a little arrogant, isn't it? It's a little arrogant to be like, we know we're going great places. So because this is obviously a plan they had from the beginning.
It's arrogant games like we saw, like Sunday's game. Like, that's arrogant.
Yes.
You're playing the 49ers, dude. Like, I need the best players out there. I don't need the Boston Scotts. I don't need the Kenny. I need the best players out there, and you don't get it. That's when it's arrogant. When you're playing, the Giants coming up, if they want to have a steady dose of Kenny Gainwell, that's fine with me. But
they get Boston Scott.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the Boston Strangler.
Yeah. I don't blame DeAndre Swift on anything I'm about to say, and I hate to sound old schoolish and all that, but you're a friggin' running back in the NFL. You should be able to carry the ball 300 times a year.
This isn't on him, though.
That's what I just said.
Yeah,
that's how I prefaced this all by saying that I don't blame him at all. But the thinking of coaches and this player to that player and, well, we can only run them 10 times a game. What are we doing in sports anymore? What are we doing? Like, the guy's 25, 6, 7 years old. This is what he signed up for. And I'll bet you if you took DeAndre Swift in this room right now, he'd say, damn straight I want the ball 10 more times a game. I'm fine. I'm good to go. Now, as I said yesterday, maybe there is some hidden injury, something going on. And, Pat, you're probably onto something that they're saving him a little bit. But, man, what is going on in sports anymore that we just can't? You're there to be a running back for a game every 7 days.
And these
if I need to run you 20 times, I'm going to run you 20 times.
And these athletes are supposed to be the best trained, the best nutrition, the best rest, the best everything that we've ever seen.
I don't put it on the athletes hardly at all.
So
I really don't.
You think it's management doing
I just know from my experience being around that athletes wanted to play, and it was medical staffs, and it was red light, green lights, and yellow lights, and all of those things. And, you know, from the coaches that we've talked to since you've been here, John,
yes.
You know, we asked Nurse about it. We asked Doc Rivers about it. They don't like it. They don't like this load management stuff. I know when I was covering the team, guys would be sat, and they're like, yeah, I just got to do what they tell me. What are we doing?
I don't understand it.
I'm not saying run a guy and, you know, I'm going to run him so much that he's, you know, going to be exhausted and hurt by the end of the season. No, I'm not saying abuse anybody or anything like that. You chose this profession.
Yes.
You chose to play football. Like, if you're a coach, okay, use what's at your disposal.
Most people don't care about rental cars the way they do, Pat, cars they own. And to me, if you've got DeAndre Swift and now it tells me, though, are they looking to sign him in the offseason? Because
I was wondering the same thing.
Because they're not breaking the wheels off him.
No, I was wondering the same thing. Or is this just as simple as, yeah, we're probably going to move on and we just want to conserve energy for him so that we can
just weird.
Run him into the ground in the Super Bowl or something. I don't know. It is a weird scenario, and trying to make sense of it is, you know, we've been trying to do that for 12, 13 weeks or whatever.
I'm glad you tried to, though. It doesn't make sense to me still, but I'm glad you tried to. That's
the attempt was made.
That's a good
touch.
17,
just under 17 touches a game is what. Now, when you throw in the receiving and all, is what DeAndre Swift is averaging.
5 games to go. He's at just under 1,000 yards total offense.
Yeah, 17 touches a game. Does that sound outlandish? Does that sound? I mean, that sounds like low to me for a number one running back.
Absolutely. And the thing is that you're saying 2 touches, too. It's passing game, running game. I mean, I don't understand it, but and against Dallas, there's stuff to be done against Dallas. If I see him getting 6 carries against the Cowboys, it should be an outrage. It honestly should be. It's outrageous. And it is interesting to see the national media yesterday really was in on Brian Johnson. That they were in on Sean Desai too. But they were saying Desai, what I've been saying is Desai's being asked to make chicken salad out of you-know-what, whereas Brian Johnson has arguably the best tools in the business. And it doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. And it does matter. The eye test does matter with this team because how could you not be just looking smooth? And they don't look together, and it's December.
Yeah, and they're playing a not great defensive team in Dallas on Sunday, who just gave up 35 to Seattle. If there's a time to get on track with everything, it might be this weekend.
And you need to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you want this game. You want to lock up. You're going to lock up the NFC East if you win on Sunday night. So get on out there and take care of business about it. So before we get to speak for yourself, Ryan in Westchester joins us. Ryan, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Good morning.
Good morning, buddy.
Talking on the DeAndre Swift thing, if that was the case, why do we leave him in the fourth quarter to get absolutely destroyed on that tackle?
Why? I don't understand why you had Jalen Hurts in after he'd had a concussion protocol check. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, if that theory is correct,
that's a great point, Ryan.
I don't understand why we have him in there in that situation. To me, it was, drive.
Yeah,
good job, Ryan. I don't get it.
I mean, we all were like questioning why the starters were in there so late.
I think they were trying to cosmetically make it not as bad a loss.
At that point, you should.
That's my theory.
At that point, if I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm pulling all my starters and
I would have
not even attempting to put lipstick on a pig. I mean, We all knew how bad that was.
Yeah, that was egregious. That was what. I mean, my wife's sitting next to me. And she's like, "Why the heck is he in the game? Wasn't he just hurt? Forget if he wasn't even hurt. He shouldn't have been in the game anyway." I didn't agree with that a little bit.
I mean, it seems too much. Eric in Central Jersey, you get last word on this. Eric, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
How you doing? I just want to touch on the Leonard and also this whole Brian Johnson thing. As far as Leonard goes, I'm thrilled to have him. Like we said before, it's a chance we're taking, but with the depth of our linebacker position, you ain't going to find anybody better off the street right now that's going to fill.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, you're right.
I'm definitely happy with it. As far as Brian Johnson, what I've noticed is I'll go back and watch the game and watch some of the plays and everything like that. And I think the major problem that he's having is with the talent we have, the offensive plays he calls take way too much time with these receivers to develop these routes. And I watch, and a couple times I think it's Hurts just dancing around back there and taking too long, doesn't have anything. But if you watch the actual routes they're running, it just takes way too long. And you got a guy like A.J. Brown we saw against the Niners. No one could stop him on the slant. No one.
Oh, and Devontae Smith, too.
Yeah, and they don't attack the middle enough. I mean, I know with Goddard out, it hurts a little bit. But even before that, the middle of the field needs to be attacked. And guys like A.J. Brown, like I said, can't be stopped on that slant. His body's too big.
Now there were adjustments made. If you watch the tape on the NFL, if you get the NFL Plus, San Francisco did adjust on the third drive to try to be, making it much more difficult traffic-wise for them to run that slant pattern. But you got to then make the adjustment.
What did they do?
You got to make the adjustment. Well, they were bringing the safeties coming up, and they were trying to hit guys big time, and they were hitting them bad.
Well, if safety's coming up, what do? You go over the top.
That's what you got to do.
And you have guys that are able to do that.
Quez could bring it, and they tried to do that. They point out that Quez, that play was because of that, the slant being taken away. Quez gets the break, and he gets his one chance, and he did he made a great effort on it. But it was definitely pass interference in my mind. But there have been enough calls that have gone the Eagles' way. I'm not going to bitch about that one. Bob reads between the lines and tells us he's been to enough press conferences to know what the coach really meant when he said that. Let's have a speak for yourself.
And now it's time for Bob Cooney's Speak for Yourself. Here's Bob.
All right, Nick Sirianni had some answering to do yesterday. He had, not a good day on Sunday.
No.
He didn't. His assistant coaches didn't. His coordinators didn't, nor did his team. So one of the first things he was asked about yesterday was all of the yards after catch that the San Francisco 49ers had, and why did they have it?
They did a good job of getting their guys some balls in space, and then I think it was just some uncharacteristic missed tackles. There were some fundamental things, whether it was us lunging at guys that, that are good with the ball in their hands. I think that happened a couple times. We didn't run up to the guy and break our feet down a couple times. We call that long stride, short stride. That happened a couple times, and it was just some uncharacteristic missed tackles by us.
It poses a question that I want to give to you guys. Was it schematical that they weren't tackling, or did you guys think it was the lack of physicality that they weren't tackling?
The latter. The lack of physicality.
Yeah, I just, what do you think, Pat?
The lack of physicality is a good one. Yeah, I guess I'll go with that.
Yeah, it's just,
it's got to be.
You can scheme whatever you want. When they're breaking tackles, I can say, well, I drew it up. They were there to make the tackle. They just didn't make the tackle.
It seemed to be the case, right?
Yeah, San Francisco offensively seemed to be playing downhill, and the Eagles couldn't match it a little bit defensively.
Not even a little.
Yeah,
and McCaffrey really is such a spectacular example of a player that is beating you in so many different ways.
And when you have a guy that in Deebo Samuel that had a chip on his shoulder and that decided whenever he was going to touch the ball, he was going to go from 0 to 100, no matter the outcome, you had no answer for it. It was that plain and simple. All right, the next thing he was asked, and James Bradbury's name came up on this, but all of the pre-snap motion that San Francisco had before they would snap the ball really seemed to confuse the Eagles, and he was asked about that.
When you get a team that does a lot of different things like that with the motions and stuff like that, it's to make sure that everyone's on the same page at all times. And so the answer, sometimes the answer is to add this wrinkle or add that wrinkle, but against a team that does a lot like that, it's just to make sure everybody's on the same page And I think that's where we just didn't do a good enough job of just making sure everyone was on the same page as far as, hey, all the little different things to the different motions that they could do.
You know what he said there? We got out-coached.
Yes.
We got our asses
I believe
kicked
he
as far as coaching goes. We just didn't have the guys. He talked about, well, we pre-planned that if they go in A motion, we want to be here. F motion means if they're coming out of F motion, that's where we have to be. That's all great. You guys had no idea what was going on, though. You may have practiced A through F motion all week long, but it certainly didn't show up on Sunday. And the disappointing thing about that is everybody knows that's what Kyle Shanahan does. Everybody knows that they are the most motion team, along with the Miami Dolphins, in the league. How were you not ready for that? You were so ready for it against Miami.
Yeah,
that's
you
where
were completely ready for it.
That's where I think the physicality thing also comes into play. Sometimes you can be in a wrong place at the wrong time, but you make up for it with your physical play. You make up for it just because I'm a better athlete than the other guy there. Oops, I should have been there. Now I'm going to get there. You didn't have really any of that on Sunday.
No, you didn't. By the way, Nicholas Morrow had a very good game against Miami, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like that him and Cunningham were big in that game, if I remember correctly. So San Francisco just found a way around those guys.
All right, the next subject we have here, Pat, it's something that you just hit on a couple minutes ago. And he was asked about why the running back shifts are what they are. And I'll tell you before he answers this question, Kenny Gainwell was on the field for 39 plays to DeAndre Swift's 30. Here's what he had to say.
Kenny's been our 2-minute back. Kenny's been our third down back in certain situations. You know, as far as why were we not in the run game or in that meaningful part of the game, I think where Kenny has more plays than DeAndre is when it turns into those situations. So we had a lot of those situations at the end, which lead to those numbers being like that. But as far as the run game, we know we have to establish the run game. We know we have to be better in the run game. We just have things that where you get on the positive side. There was a couple times where we got behind the sticks. That doesn't mean you still can't run at that in that situation.
I cry BS on that.
Yeah, my response to that is what? Wait, what? You're saying that the numbers got shifted because you had him in late because 2-minute drill offense and all that. Okay, like the caller just said, I saw DeAndre Swift get smattered late in the game, so he was in there. It's not just this game, Mr. Sirianni. It's been all games this year where why is Kenny Gainwell starting a second half? Why is Boston Scott starting a second half? That's fine. Look, I can harp on this all I want, but there has to be a reasoning for it, and that answer to me wasn't an answer.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of word salad.
Yeah, so the biggest news coming out of yesterday was the signing of Shaq Leonard. We know that Nick Sirianni has a history with Shaq Leonard in Indianapolis, so he was asked about it and what maybe Shaq Leonard can contribute to this team.
Oh, man, he's got a knack for the football. That isn't just my vision of watching him play recently, but also the practice reps I have against him, that I've been against him. Not me, but like our offense has been against him. And so him in pass coverage, his length and his instinct is really outstanding, and he got a nose for the ball. It's just his length, his instinct, his ability to finish on the ball, and those are special qualities that he's had for a long time. That length is hard to throw around, both horizontally and vertically, right?
Here's hoping. He's hard to throw around. And, yeah, watching film yesterday, he does. Man, I said this earlier, he's got long arms, and the instinct still seems to be there. I saw him shooting towards the ball, shooting gaps, reading maybe screens out of a backfield. His instincts are there. Whether his body is able to catch up to his mind and get to a place where he wants to be, knows he has to be, instinctually anticipating where to be, whether his body allows him to do that or not, we're going to see, because a lot of times of stuff that I watch, he was kind of there, but not there as much as he probably wanted to be.
Yeah, the Indy Star people were saying, too, it wasn't a good fit what they were asking him to do. I don't understand you. He's one of your best talents. I guess you want to do things differently. I'm glad he's here, but I just wonder how much when Shane Steichen's in a playoff push and they're like, no, we're good.
Yeah, well, there's two things to be had. One, Shefty told us last week, look, if you're looking for 2019 Shaq Leonard, you ain't getting it. And two, just what you said, John, Indy's a playoff team. Indy's a team, fighting to get in there. Why in the world would you dump a linebacker that was productive for you? Probably
yeah,
wouldn't.
I mean, it's strange. And one thing I could see is that, again, Indy Star is the place to go for some good analysis on Shaq Leonard. He's obviously a great teammate, Bob. Like, they talk about him being a great locker room, that he helps young players. He's got positive energy. The organization loved him. My buddy is the VP of communications with them, and I know that he thinks a lot of Shaq Leonard.
Well, that's great, but you already have that here.
I got it.
So it's like saying, you're bringing in a veteran who's great in the locker room. Wow, in a locker room that's just totally full of that.
I got you.
So good. I mean,
if I'm
good.
bringing a guy in though off the street, I mean, he's better than just a body off the street. You know what I mean? Is like his that just finding a warm body. This guy is an upgrade over that. What he is, though,
I hope he is. I don't know if I'd go that far. Like I said, if Indy in a playoff hunt is just dumping a guy, that says something.
No, it does.
Yep. So my expectations for Shaq Leonard, although I think a move had to be made and it's good to bring in anybody, but my expectations aren't all that high.
And you do. So Pat, you're like Bob. You both believe he's playing Sunday.
Oh God, yeah.
Be floored if he doesn't play. I mean, I think Shefty last week said one way or the other the guy will be playing on Sunday.
So he's playing in that game. It just is. That's a quick turnaround, and the guy hasn't played in weeks. And he's coming to a new team, and he's learning new stuff. I mean, obviously, he's not going to be calling the defense with the green dot, but I guess instinctively he can't be worse, and he's a better tackler. He is a better tackler.
If he's there.
They're saying there was a lot of arm stuff going on this year, just a step slow that they were looking at.
Yeah, and that's a frustrating thing. I've talked to many, many athletes about it, and it just comes back to the same thing. I know where I want to be. I know where I should be. I have it all thought out, and the body just won't get me there.
Pat Egan's going to say something at around 8 o'clock that I've been waiting for all morning, and I just wanted to just make sure that I found the perfect spot for it. Because I can't wait till you react to it, as we will react to it. Bob and I will react to it. But coming up, honestly, it's the most critical regular season week for Nick Sirianni to make a statement. And John Tortorella at 8:45. It's going to be a big 8 o'clock hour. Don't miss any of it. It's the John Kincade Show, and you're on 97.5, The Fanatic. With winter here, this is the time of year you probably don't think about changing out your windows. So Window Nation says, think about it. And they gave you something to think about. How about 50% off all styles of windows? So today you go to Window Nation. The Fanatics deal of the week. This week you get a $100 gift card to Wild Fork Meat and Seafood Market for just $50. I've been to this place in Ardmore, and I'm just telling you, it's well worth it, and they've got locations all over town. So get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com. Keyword deal. That's Wild Fork Meat and Seafood Market. $50, you get a $100 gift card. That is a deal. You will absolutely love it. Speaking of deals, Bob, I'm asking you to be kind. I'm asking you to take care of Chunas, who I know you love.
I do love him.
And Pat added to his order in the 6 a.m. hour. And 7 a.m. hour, it's yours to do something nice for Andrew that you can get at Wawa. So what would be added to the order?
So I'm going to order him something that I hope he says, oh, no, I'm sorry, I don't like this. And then he
you're
gives
going to
it to me. Yeah, because this is one of my favorite things. He needs to go to the freezer section.
Freezer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And get me this was my go-to back in the day, but I've kind of stopped over the years trying to, but man, I give in every once in a while. A pint of mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Oh.
The Wawa mint chocolate chip ice cream is one of the best, maybe the best, honest to God, I've ever had.
And this is the green.
The green, yes.
It's not white.
It's not chocolate chip mint. It's mint chocolate chip.
I've been in ice cream establishments, Pat, that said mint chocolate chip, and then they give you a white scoop.
Yeah.
That's not mint chocolate chip. Look at that. Bob saying, oh, wow, Andrew's not going to want that.
I hope he doesn't.
You're not a sweets guy, though, really. You said it yesterday, and you're really not a sweets guy. I mean, when sweets are sitting around here, rarely do I see you partaking.
It's the only little bit of discipline I have is I do try to stay away from the sweets.
Is it because you don't like them that much?
Oh, no, God, I love them. Absolutely love them.
That's incredible discipline on your part, then.
It's
incredible discipline.
Yeah, it's all right. I've just learned to say no. You know, when the cakes come out and all that stuff, Bob, you want a slice? Nah, I'm good. One of the kids goes out to get ice cream. Nah, I'm good.
The cookies you talked about yesterday on National Cookie Day.
Yeah, I try to stay away as much as I can.
I can't wait for you to hear what Pat Egan has to say at the top of the hour, because I guarantee you it will create some discussion, not only amongst Bob and I, but with you. That's coming up in just a few minutes here. I would say this right now is that this is the most critical regular season week of the Sirianni administration, because they are taking bullets, verbal bullets, from the media about their preparation, about their coordinators, about their performance, about their toughness, about their do they belong. And this is the biggest week for Nick Sirianni and his staff to prove that there is no slide going on. Because I just had this nagging little thought. 2018, there were reasons for it. But after winning the Super Bowl, the 2018 season was a bit of a slide. If you don't get the double doink, you don't get to New Orleans, and then the interception at the end of the game. It was a slide, and then 2019 was a bigger slide. And then 2020 led to the demise of Doug Peterson, and they were gone, and they won 4 games. I don't see this ever happening with this team and how loaded the roster is as far as some younger talent and skill talent. But I also don't want to see a post-Super Bowl slide. And I honestly think that's what we're seeing this year. We've seen a little bit of it this year. I think there are reasons. Tougher schedule, some bad maybe decision-making on the linebackers and everything. But to me, I don't want to see this begin a slide, because we saw it once before and it was ugly.
Yeah, there's people out there saying that this could be the first of 3 in a row that they may lose. And here's the way you have to look at it. If this is a really good football team, which I think it is, and they have the belief of fandom, I think we would all be good enough to say, that was a game, blow it off like we talked about before, flush it, okay. But this is a team at 10-1 where questions were abound, and we were questioning the questions. And then you have a really good team come in, and boom, you get blasted. Now, are the questions legitimate? Are the questions that you've had all season, did that just bring it to a head and make it legitimate? There's 2 ways to question a team. One is off their most recent performance, or is their most recent performance a microcosm of the season? Well, it's not, because they're not that bad. But the concerns were just exploited tremendously on Sunday. So it lends to a season long of questions.
And look, they opened this door. Not us. They opened it up. The Eagles created this these topics of discussion, and I got to think it challenges their spirit a bit. That it's going to be something, Pat, that they're gonna hear all this all week long. San Francisco heard it. They talk the talk. They walk the walk. I don't want the Eagles to talk about it. I want them to show up on Sunday and show us.
They don't. I mean,
they don't tend to ever
really talk a lot of crap. They'll talk after the games, but that's about it. And look, they need to go into this game like their hair's on fire. I mean, there's just the road to the number one seed is still in their hands, but this is the game. And if they lose this game, then I mean, the mood on Monday is going to be pretty depressing. I mean, like I wasn't like so depressed yesterday coming in, and I think a big part of it was like, all right, well, they're still in first place. Their path is still theirs to create. Like, we're all right, we're good. But if you lose on Sunday, back-to-back losses to the two teams that you figure you're going to have to, battle it out against for a trip to the Super Bowl, yeah, it's not going to be pretty.
Well, I mean, questions
will arise.
You lose Sunday night, then San Francisco has the opportunity to run the table and win the top seed in the NFC. You no longer are in the driver's seat. Also, you open up the door for the Dallas Cowboys to win the NFC East. I do not believe that will happen. No matter what the outcome Sunday night, I do not believe Dallas is winning the East and the Eagles are losing it. I absolutely do not believe that will happen.
No, I think we
talked
talked
Bills, at the Dolphins. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we talked about this a long time ago. Also, I still think the Eagles could wind up with 3 losses on the season and have no problem clinching the NFC East, or maybe even 4 losses.
4.
Dallas has a couple losses still in them. I believe that, and one of them might come this weekend.
It'd be nice.
The NFC East doesn't worry me a little bit. The NFC as a whole, you have to be worried about that.
You open the door. And the 49ers have a chance to kick it in. As we begin the 8 o'clock hour on the John Kincade Show, appreciate you being a part of things. John Tortorella, Flyers coach, will celebrate with us 2 overtime victories in a row over the Penguins. He'll join us at 8:45 today, so make an appointment if you're a fan of the Flyers, and we will adjust our clock accordingly to make sure that we are ready for John at that time. As we begin the 8 o'clock hour, Pat, don't do it with the music. Just do it with you. Make your statement and state your case about what you put in our pre-show notes, because it's something that I've been dying to get to all day.
Are you talking to the
your
matchup?
Confidence.
Yeah,
your confidence.
I'm weirdly confident if these two teams, 49ers and Eagles, were to match up again in the NFC Championship game, that the Eagles would win. And a big part of that is I do think the Eagles will get the number 1 seed. But even after 42-19, I am still confident that this team will be able to rectify the mistakes. And maybe one of the reasons why is because it was so bad. Maybe it's because like this exposed a lot of flaws, and let's see how the adjustment happens with the coaching staff. But I would be floored if they end up matching up in Philly for an NFC Championship game and it's 42-19 again.
But weirdly confident.
I might be just looking at this through fanboy glasses here, but I don't know, like the way that beat down, and I made the case yesterday, like this could be a blessing in disguise. This could be a game that we point to and say they needed that. They needed to be exposed a little bit to really, wake up the coaching staff to, hey, Kenny Gainwell getting, one less play than DeAndre Swift is stupid. Maybe it'll wake up Brian Johnson to some issues. Maybe it'll wake up Sean Desai to some of his schemes. But it gives the coaching staff a look at what San Francisco was doing this season. You got to remember, Steve Wilkes is a new defensive coordinator for them. He's a veteran coach, but new defensive coordinator. I'm still confident. Like if these two teams were to match up, I do weirdly think it would be a different story.
I can't believe you used the word confident.
Yeah.
Now, if you said to me,
I'm Billy Mumphrey. I'm cockeyed optimist to the nth degree.
The thing is, that's not tend to be you.
It's not.
Billy Mumphrey was a cockeyed optimist.
I mean, you tend to be. You do come around on things or get confident. Like everybody can come in and get it. Like do it.
Yeah.
But to be confident.
Yeah. Well,
after the ass beating that went down on Sunday, if any Eagles fan says to me they're confident, if San Francisco rolls in here and says, "Oh no, I'm confident. They're gonna take care of them." After what we saw,
yep.
I got to say.
I can't believe it.
You know what they say?
Well, that's what led to Billy Mumphrey's downfall. Billy was a cockeyed optimist.
He did.
I agree with Pat's confidence. But my confidence goes totally the other way.
Your confidence goes to the get hammered
I do.
again?
Like, look, we can say, all right, the Eagles, they saw exactly what San Francisco is and what they did. You make the adjustments, all that. Guess what? San Francisco could come in here with a totally different game plan, and the Eagles totally prepared for something that ain't going to be there. I don't have any. No, I don't. No. Good for you, Pat, and I love it. But as of right now, if San Francisco were to come back in here with that same team, with this same team that the Eagles are, I can't say I have confidence right now.
I think a lot of people are going to side with you two. I mean, we're 48 hours removed from that ass whooping,
and it was painful,
and it sucked. But I left going like, all right, I think it would be a different story. Now, once again, this could end up with egg on my face completely, but and I probably am looking at it a little bit through fanboy colored glasses, but yeah,
which is by the way.
Not really
95% of our listeners are probably looking at him through those eyes.
Yeah, but
we try to be more pragmatic because of the job we do, but that's not maybe typical of what a fan does, right?
Well, I think we talked about this before in Philadelphia. They kind of skew negative at times because it's just been, it's been a city that doesn't have a lot of championships,
right.
So things end up going the wrong way. And I think if you're a fan and you watch that game, it's like, oh crap! All right, well, we had everything going for us. We were at home. Weather wasn't so bad. I mean, the field conditions, whatever, it was fine. You're healthy. I oddly am going positive with this one.
That's cool. I like that
take
because usually I'm the one that looks into the future more in the way that you're describing now. I can't. Even I can't do it today. I can't.
No, and I don't blame you. Like if this was Boom Boom and Squiggy and out in San Francisco,
right,
and the Eagles just beat the 49ers 42-19, and on a Tuesday morning I got to hear Squiggy say, I'd be confident in a rematch, I'd be laughing at him, calling him an idiot. So I don't blame anybody from sitting there like looking at me cross-eyed about this topic. But
I am.
I don't blame anybody for doing it.
But I need glasses, so I'm getting glasses.
Yeah,
glasses.
This is a scorching hot take.
All
but yeah.
Let me see.
Warning, this is a hot take alert.
Honestly, I didn't make sure I was checking the right station. That was great, Pat.
Yep,
that was good.
You.
Okay, so I ask you this. The word confident has to come into your analysis. Pat says wildly confident or oddly confident, weirdly confident. If you're confident the Eagles would beat the 49ers in a rematch, I must hear from you. Because it's okay for me to say, I could see, in my mind, I could see a way that the Eagles can go win a game against the 49ers. The confident is the word that grabs it. If you want to jump in, 610-632-0975. Or if you're on the total other end of the spectrum, where you're more along the lines of, I saw Sunday something that's not going to be corrected in the next 9 weeks.
So there's a word that Nick Sirianni used in the Speak for Yourself that we played, and the word was uncharacteristic. And he was using it to describe his team's tackling or lack thereof on Sunday. So I think the question has to come about off of this subject that Pat brought up. What was so uncharacteristic about the Eagles on Sunday pertaining to this year?
I'm going to tell you nothing.
That's the bad answer.
I think it's
if you're an Eagles fan, that's a horrible answer.
This team hasn't tackled well this year. This team has two corners, and Seth Joyner gets a bunch of crap for always speaking his mind. And sometimes he is he'll find the blemishes where they played a pretty good game, and he's just sort of ripping them. But I respect his football expertise. And again, you have two corners that do not want to take part in tackling. And literally shot. It seemed like if you're watching the replay, the 15-minute game, there's a lot of plays where they're like spectators in the run game, and the 49ers corners are not. And I don't know if that's want to. Seth Joyner tends to believe it's want to, that they don't want to. I'm hoping that's not the case because the 49ers corners get involved. They get involved. They tackle so much better, the 49ers defense. It's unbelievable.
They tackle hard.
Yes, they make you pay.
They want to get that shoulder in there. But if you look at it, all right, the Eagles receivers had good games. Both of them close to 100, one over 100, one close to 100 yards receiving.
Yes.
Jalen Hurts wasn't really Jalen Hurts.
I think he was
don't think.
Bad game.
But
I think it was a bad game.
Okay, so then that's something that was different. That's something that's uncharacteristic.
Him holding the ball too long in the pocket and taking uncharacteristic sacks, I don't think is uncharacteristic, though. And I think that was the problem on Sunday. He was getting great protection.
Well, wait, if you say he played bad, then that is uncharacteristic.
Yeah, but
right?
that element of the game was not. I think he's done it all year long. Held on to the ball too long, made poor reads.
Yeah,
I think we've seen a lot of that this year.
One of our callers earlier had a point that I had said before, and I believe it. It just seems like they're running deep patterns at times. And when you watch all 22s after games, you'll see it. You'll see 3 guys, 4 guys that are running 15, 20-yard patterns. He's got to wait. And
where's the check down?
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a lot of that. But if your answer is nothing was uncharacteristic about Sunday, that's bad.
I think you just found the team that they were good enough of a team to be able to overcome their shooting themselves in the foot first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and then they dig it out. You found a team in the 49ers that are so good, they're not going to let you dig yourself out of a hole. You build the hole, they're going to pull more dirt on you. Whereas the Bills, you can climb out. Where the Cowboys let you climb out. Where other teams let you survive your own mistakes. This year, to me, I think this year has been as much about self-inflicted wounds with the Eagles as it's been about great performances. I really do. I think this is like Jalen Hurts does not look like an MVP candidate to me.
The talent overcame the lack of good play or something? I think it's a good question. Like, what was uncharacteristic about this Eagles team on Sunday? It's uncharacteristic that they got blown out. You've said it so many times, and I've repeated it, that, you never thought that they would lose a game by 3 touchdowns. It just happened. But what was uncharacteristic? Can you say, well, the lack of a running game? Usually I have it. No. It's an interesting question. I wonder if people look at it the way I'm talking about it right now.
I just think their talent is good enough to to survive a bunch of self-inflicted wounds against the majority of the league. But you found the team in San Francisco that's so good that if you give them that opening, they're just going to take care of you. They're just going to finish you off. And the fact that the Eagles couldn't finish either drive, and the second one was clearly on Jalen. It's horrendous, the 15-yard sack he took. That just killed every momentum of that drive. 12-yard line, second.
I would have been more pissed off if he got sacked. He tripped, like he slipped, whatever. That sucks. It just seemed odd that he was pointing for one player to do something in a little 14-yard area. There's not many places to go there.
Hey, Doug in Williamstown wants to check in. Doug, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Morning. How you doing, John?
Good, Dougie.
Hey, Doug.
All right, so here's why I think the Eagles have a way to beat the Niners. And if you were to go back and look, and you guys are better analysts than I am, but
not necessarily.
Brock Purdy throws a lot of short passes that go for a lot of yards after the catch. Is that correct?
Like Joe Montana did.
He didn't throw the ball over 10 yards, yeah.
With weak corner play and weak middle play, I think they should start doing a lot more blitz packages. Make them beat us throwing the ball deep.
And the weird thing is they did in the first 2 drives.
Did you see the numbers on the blitzes, though, Doug? The Eagles blitzed him like 18 times on Sunday. He was 17 for 18 with 3 touchdowns. So,
now,
I hear you, but it just didn't work.
Right, I understand, but I'm wondering now if Shaq Leonard is that guy that he could be, with him keeping him in the middle field, not blitzing him, but blitzing maybe outside packages. I don't know if it would work, but yeah, I still say if Purdy has to beat you deep, I don't think they can win. I don't think it would be sustainable.
I thought you were going to go another way, Doug. I thought he was going to go the way of bring the corners up and start some press coverage there and make him kind of force him to throw the ball low. Because one of the stats I saw was Purdy rarely, if ever, threw the ball more than 10 yards in the air on Sunday. Well, if he's throwing dinks and dunks, why aren't you up in press coverage? Why aren't you trying to, make him double hitch and allow your defensive line to maybe get to him more?
You want to get in on this discussion, and Pat's confident that they can do this. We got to break a little early next segment, so I want to get out. So get plenty of time in for you. 610-632-0975. Pat's confident that the Eagles can win the rematch. But more importantly, what was uncharacteristic, too, about Sunday's game. We'll get into it coming up. John Kincade Show. John Tortorella at 8:45 here on 97.5, The Fanatic. I know that with the BetParks app, you got plenty of great options. And right now, the Birds are a 3-point road underdog at Dallas. I'm a little surprised by the number. That is very, very tight. And they may be going off history. But right now,
on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hopefully you're having a good morning. A little chillier than it's been, so we're getting a little bit in, I guess, the holiday spirit with that. I'll have my addition to Andrew Salchunas' Wawa order coming up before the end of the segment, and then you'll call in the 9 o'clock hour. We'll see. Bob's hoping that Andrew doesn't want what he picked.
Yeah, it's a good
strategy.
It's a veteran move.
Good strategy.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
If you know them all, you'll be able to cash in the 9 o'clock hour.
He's allergic to it.
Hey, we know this. Hey, Matt in New Jersey joins us. We're talking about the Eagles situation. Are you confident in this team? And more importantly, was there anything uncharacteristic on Sunday that you saw? Matt?
Hello. Hey.
You're on.
Sorry, guys. Thanks. Yeah. It's just, I think you brought it up earlier. Jalen Hurts, he has a tendency to hold the ball a little bit too long. I think he's got this, hero complex where he likes to hold it a little bit long, and then he wants to roll out and, save the play or save the day with, this great-looking pass, fingertip catch, 2 feet in bounds to keep the ball moving. And I think one thing is if we learn something from Tom Brady is he always got rid of the ball quick, and he was constantly moving the chains. And seems like we're throwing the ball out of bounds a lot more. So I don't know if this hero complex or his style of play is something that he can change to start getting rid of the ball quicker. I know we're a lot happier when he does it, but I'm not really sure. We've been watching this same kind of play over and over and over again every weekend. It just seems a little frustrating that he's not making progress there.
I do believe that's been a problem, or regression.
I do too. Especially when your quick hitting plays are working, when your slants are working, when it's a quick drop and you just get the ball. Look, what do you want to do with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? You want to get the ball in their hands. Get it in their hands. Don't look. Design plays that, I don't know, comebacks or slants or, definitive routes running across a field where you can get them open. You talked about that you saw something that the 49ers were taking away the slants. Well, then double slant.
Yeah, they show you
double slant. It's the hardest thing to do in coverage in football is to follow a receiver across the field and stop him unless you have help on the other side of the field, which means they're playing zone. Okay, where are your sit downs? You got to get the ball in their hands. They did a good job of it. We saw how many catches and how many yards they had the other day, but it took too long. They just didn't adjust accordingly quick enough in my eyes.
Olsen talked about it on the broadcast, too, is that now the adjustment's been made to take away the slants. So now the Eagles have to have their counterpoint. Now they found Devontae Smith. So Devontae Smith was wide open 3 or 4 times for catches right along the sideline, where he just caught it and stepped out of bounds. Caught it, stepped out of bounds. Didn't take an unnecessary hit, unlike the cheap shot he took later on in the game. But, there's time. I just think there's been a regression. I think there's a regression in Jalen's play from last year. I really do.
Well, and that's to be kind of expected, right?
Last year was amazing. Amazing. He's still one of the best.
We talked about it before the year started. Is that a bar to be set that you're going to anticipate he's going to be a top 5 MVP almost every year? Probably not. We said his numbers will probably be better this year than last year, but will he have as much effect on a game as he did last year? I don't know. I think it's still out there.
The turnovers alone it's a horrendous number, considering last year he protected the ball a lot better, but there's still a lot of good things that he's bringing to the table. Mike and Delran, how you feeling this morning, Michael?
Yo, what's up, guy?
Good, buddy.
Hey, Mike.
Bob, great points today, dude. You're killing it.
Look at that.
Thank you, buddy.
What's going on today? Yo, guys, I'm pissed off. Last time I looked, we're still better than 31 teams in the NFL. I'm used to hearing this crap from national media and the nation and the rest of the world, but hearing our own heads down, it's pissing me off. Last time I checked, Cleveland lost the Niners lost an ugly game to Cleveland, 17-19. Then they lost an ugly game to the Vikings. Then they lost by 2 scores to the Bengals, who are a mess. I'm tired of it, guys.
So, Mike, you're telling me today you're confident that if the Eagles played the 49ers again after what you saw Sunday, that they would win that game?
Yeah, because last year in a bigger game, I saw him beat the piss out of him, John. And I'm not going to sit here and be convinced.
We're not the same team.
That Mr. Irrelevant is the reason why they're so good. You know why they're good? They got they got a lot of good health right now. They got good offensive players, fine. But guess what? This is us every year. Nobody believes in this team. This is the best team in the NFL. I don't care what happened in one game. I'm going to tell you right now, if we don't go in there and beat Dallas on Sunday, I won't call in for the rest of the season. You know why? Because I believe in Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. They've given me no reason not to in 2.5 years. And if you don't believe in them, then take your Eagles jersey off, put your Cowboys jersey on, and tell me about the last 30 years, you loser.
Listen to Mikey. Listen to Mikey getting fired up this morning. It's ridiculous that
those are my people.
Mike, it's ridiculous that you can absolutely have reason to criticize this year's team. There's absolutely, you don't have to be a blind sheep and just be like shaking the pom-poms and saying, everything Eagles is great. Look, there's a lot different. There's a lot different. Last year, I guess, when did they lose their second? They were further along on the line. There's a lot different.
Dallas, right?
It's a different schedule this year, so it's harder. But if you're looking at, I don't want to hear about what last year's team did. This isn't last year's team. It was last year's team. Yeah, you would feel better because you know what you would have seen? You would have seen 3 months of dominant football. And, Pat, I remember something that you pointed out when we were first starting working together.
Sure.
You were talking about the 2017 season.
Uh-huh.
And how many weeks you had sort of what we now call the Lego games.
Yeah.
Where the Eagles were just trouncing the competition.
Mm-hmm.
And even good competition. And taking them out. We saw that last year, too. We're not seeing that this year. It's not the same team.
No, that's why I like the Brian Johnson love that he gets from the national media and stuff, and it's one of the reasons why I'll get a head coaching job. We view it through last year's lens of like, right. The numbers are still there, but the way you're getting those numbers is way more strenuous than you did last season. It's not the same. You're having to fight and scratch and claw to get to the 30, 34 points or whatever it is, and then your defense isn't as good as last year. Like nothing the offense, defense, nothing's as good. I have faith though because the entire NFL seems to be down.
I think that's true, but San Francisco's not, and they're the roadblock. They're not down. They're thriving.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that after last Sunday.
I mean, they are now once healthy. Now, as anything could happen, Bob, there could be. We saw it last night with Trevor Lawrence. You could have he twisted his ankle and he may have a high ankle sprain. Kenny Pickett just had surgery yesterday for the high ankle sprain. He did the Jalen Hurts, the surgery he had back in college yesterday. We're seeing it a lot. I mean, Brock Purdy could get hurt again in a game randomly. Somebody could get hurt. You never know. You never know what's going to happen on that day. But being confident after watching what the 49ers did to the Eagles, I think it's a little rough.
Look, the first time you get punched in the face, it's a different experience. You might see other people. It happened to other people, or you might be the one that's doing the hitting, but you get clocked for the first time. You remember it, and it's not going to be a great feeling. They got clocked. The Eagles got clocked for the first time this year. They got clocked. Yeah, how do you respond?
Right.
And the step back for a second, the shaking, the wobbling by fans, by the team, by the coaches, it's understandable, but it's how do you respond?
Chris in Allentown joins us on the Fanatic. Chris, what's your thoughts on this? I mean, coming off Sunday, do you have confidence and what are you seeing with this Eagles club?
The only way I have confidence right now is if they start running the ball. I mean, we had what the most arguable best offensive line in the league. This offense has not changed from last year. I know we're not trying to compare apples to oranges here. I know there's a little bit of difference in tweaks and offensive coordinators and stuff like that, but we controlled the clock last year. We are nowhere near that. Our defense is struggling. That is our weakness, and we are letting it be exposed because we are letting their offense keep coming back out into the field and back out in the field because we are pass, deep pass. They're not even short passes, and it's disgusting. I mean, we see a slant route, A.J. Brown takes it for 39 yards. Why aren't we doing – again, we put 30 points up against the Bills in that second half, and it's because we started doing the short game. It wasn't drop back 6 seconds in the pocket, throw the ball deep, and have it be an incompletion. Again, it's kind of aggravating and frustrating because you just know that there's
this team is better than what we have seen all season. At least that's what I think.
Now, the thing is, though, do you think like Mike does? Like Mike Mike is a guy who is very, very passionate about the Birds. He says if you doubt this team, you're a Dallas fan, which to me that's idiotic. But I mean, it's the idea. I think he's he's using hyperbole there, though.
I don't doubt this team for one reason, too. We have 13 days in between our 3 games. The 49ers had plenty of rest coming into this, and the Cowboys are going to have plenty of rest coming into this. And I think the only way that we can win this game this week is if we run the football. And is it Miles Sanders is better than DeAndre Swift and Penny? No way.
Yeah.
It came down. Miles Sanders was as good as he was last year because of our offensive line. With Lane Johnson,
they're not using it.
It's frustrating, man.
It is.
Chris makes a great point. Frustrating is probably we can revisit this too. I think I asked it 4 weeks ago. One word to describe the Eagles season. Now this is a weird week after you just got plastered. You wonder if you're, but that's a question maybe for another time. I'll go with what Chris said. The frustrating part is this. You talk about the running game or lack thereof. Well, you've seen the good running game this year, right? We've seen this running game be dominant this year, but it's not there all the time. Jalen Hurts isn't playing to the level that he played last year. Well, at times he has. At times we've come away from games saying, my God, this guy is exactly what this organization needed. The defense, pass rush, not what it was last year. At times it has been. At times I think the numbers were pretty much the same after 10, 11 games as they were last year. So that's the frustration part to me, is that we're expecting something. We see it sometimes, but you don't see it consistently.
And it's tough, too, if I say to Mike, this isn't last year's team, then is it fair to compare them to last year's team? Because there were losses that this team took. Anthony sends a note in, and he says, I 100% don't believe Jalen has regressed. I believe the game plan and routes are too long to develop, and that the ball needs to be put in the hands of Devontae and AJ with quick, efficient routes. So he thinks that's the key. I mean, it sort of sees to what you're saying, Bob. The way and anyone with the all 22, if you have the NFL Plus and you watch it, it's clear they don't have check down, like passing routes. And if someone says, well, that's just Dallas Goedert, it doesn't have to be. It could be a Devontae, it could be a DeAndre Swift. It could be anybody else. I mean, they have no check down pattern. It seems like there's like a plan. It's, okay, we're going to throw the ball 12 to 15, 20 yards down the field, and there's no intermediate plan.
Yeah, I'm watching the kid Browning last night for Cincinnati, and of course he's got marvelous receivers in Higgins and Jamar Chase. And they were running timing patterns, and they were getting the ball in the guy's hands quickly and sprinkling in a run with Mixon at the right times. Just an offense that you're like, wow, it's a backup quarterback. Nobody in Cincinnati wants anybody but Joe Burrow playing quarterback, but it's not happening right now. But they designed an offense that was kind of perfect for this kid, and he was able to have a tremendous night because of it. And I'm sitting there watching, I'm saying, the Eagles have a better quarterback and just as good, if not better, wide receivers and a good running back.
And a better offensive line.
Let's look at this, Yeah. So it's
where the Brian Johnson truthers frustrate me. It's where it frustrates. The guys who study the NFL, guys who talk about the NFL are saying to you, there are problems. There are problems. Now, they're not saying he's a trash offensive coordinator. They're not saying he's stupid. They're not saying he's unqualified. They're just saying he's getting his ass beat in many, many times, and there doesn't seem to be a flow for the offense. It just doesn't seem like it's working. Hopefully it will. Hopefully it'll turn around. John Tortorella's going to join us coming up. And the Flyers are coming off of 2 victories over the Penguins in overtime. And as Pat was pointing out earlier, Pat, pretty good. It's not a tank roster for people who think it's the first year of a rebuild. What are you doing? You're winning all these games.
No, you get Atkinson, Couturier back changes a lot of things. So,
and they have some good prospects waiting in the wings.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, they're all right.
I do love the fact though that John Tortorella holds them to a high standard. He's going to talk about that standard and what's going on as we have him join us next. It's the John Kincade Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic. A very important part of our house.
Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Tortorella, Flyers coach, joins us in just a moment here on The Fanatic. Coming off 2 overtime victories. Got to be pleased with his young club. I wanted to give you the final piece of the order. Today, we have tried to create an order for Andrew Salchunas. Pat came up with something in the 6 a.m. hour. Bob picked something in the 7 a.m. hour he hopes he's allergic to, so he can eat it. And in the 8 o'clock hour, I will tell you that I'm going to the centerpiece of the store, the big center circle where they have the ice stuff and the chilled stuff. I'm picking up the jumbo fruit assortment for Tunis. I notice he tries to eat healthy. I notice he tries to do the right things dietary-wise. They have great, like, the grapes and the pineapple and the watermelon and all the kind of stuff in one big bin, and you can get it, and you get that fresh fruit assortment. That's what I'm picking for Tunis. Hopefully he'll like them all. In the 9 o'clock hour, if you can name all 3 of the items in the order, you will be able to win a $50 gift card from our friends at Wawa. Before John Tortorella again, too. Did you see the new flavor of the month for the wings at PJ's?
So I'm sorry, say that again?
The new wing of the month at PJ's.
Oh, no, what is it?
I'm a little scared to try it.
Uh-oh.
Mexican garlic. When garlic's in the name, I'm always wondering if it's going to be too strong. But Mexican garlic, yeah, I'm trying it. I'm trying it next time in. And it's half-price wing night, by the way, if you're a PJ's Pub member.
You know
Just
what?
so you know.
Tonight might be a PJ's night.
Yeah, it's half-price wings.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be a PJ's Pub member, and I know the Coonies are number one, I think, in the PJ's Pub.
Oh, we came up with the idea of being PJ's club members.
So, Mexican garlic. When I hear garlic garlic chicken in a thing, I usually won't order it.
No?
But then I'll try something with garlic in it, and I'm like, okay, that's really
I heard
good.
the Mexican part, and I'm out.
See, the Mexican, I like them.
Yeah, I can't.
I like that.
I can't.
Is it your Tums?
No, I have like a medical thing where I think the technical term is I'm a bitch.
Oh, I think it is.
And I can't deal with anything spicy or too hot.
Ooh,
so
wow.
I'm assuming that if it's
Mexican
garlic, it's it's got a little kick to it. My little boy taste buds can't take that kick.
Yeah, I'm not a spicy guy, as you guys know, but I love to cook, and I would say 90%, maybe more, of everything I cook has garlic. I put garlic in. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, God, yeah. When I season my steak, salt, pepper, garlic. Obviously, all the Italian things I cook, garlic. Yeah, pretty much everything.
Well, Mexican garlic is that's a play for you. You got to check it out at your local PJ's. So as we wait for John Tortorella to join us again, now, is this the turn the page? Again, we got into this discussion earlier on with the Eagles about turning the page. And when do you turn the page from this game? And Bob said earlier on in the show, you don't see this as a flush it game at all. Absolutely not.
I use it as a way to get ready for Dallas. I use it as a way to try to improve my team. It's hard when teams are winning to say, like, yeah, but we got to be better in this. That's hard. When you get exploited, when it's shown to you, when you're maybe brought down a notch, yeah, it's an easier teaching point, I think. And going into this Dallas game, I don't want to say a similar offense, but an offense that has good wide receivers, that is going to go to the passing game, that will also rely with Pollard on the running game. There's probably some real good lessons that you can parlay from that San Francisco game into this Dallas game. Therefore, no, I'm not flushing. I'm using it for my next game. I'm using it for the rest of the season.
I just don't want them hung up on the outcome of San Francisco when you're going into Dallas, because you have a good plan against Dallas. Remember last year, you won the home game in dominating fashion, but Dak didn't play. Then Jalen doesn't play in the Christmas Eve game, and that was wildly entertaining. You watch what Gardner Minshew's doing now with the Indianapolis Colts. He's winning games, and he's being a part of them winning games. And he went into Dallas on Christmas Eve. You had that Quez turnover, which was the drop. I know if you call it drop, fumble, whatever, that really cost them. But they were score for score with Dallas up and down the field. I think from what we saw in the first meeting The Eagles' offense can absolutely match the Cowboys score for score. But do you want to get in a shootout with this team?
Well, I mean,
is
after
that the only way you win? I mean,
could be. Yeah, maybe that's the MO that the Eagles have to have now. We got to outscore teams to win. While you're going to try to improve your defense, obviously, and you bring in a Shaq Leonard or however you're going to do it, you just might have to outscore teams a lot for the rest of the year.
See, that's it. Like, you're laughing about it, but you got that sort of nervous laugh to you because I'm not sure that's what that's what you necessarily want to get it. But I don't know that this team's going to be able to win with defense this year at all. Like, can you win a game? Can this team win a game with defense? I'm not sure. The Miami game's the one I think of. Where I think the defense really stepped up and did a beautiful job that game.
Who did Bradbury have the pick against just recently?
The Chiefs game, didn't he? No, the Bills game.
Was it the Bills game?
Was it Bills?
Yeah, the Bills game. Although they let up a lot of points in that game, that was a huge play. That led to a touchdown. That was a huge defensive play. We have seen the defense play well at times this year.
At times, yes.
Right now, I wouldn't rely on them winning you games. And you know what? We talked about it before the season. This offense is stacked. So if they have to go outscore teams, I think we should be comfortable that they can do that.
Mike from Delran gets a note here from DJ checking in. He said, he goes, 13-year season ticket holder. Love the passion of Mike from Delran. But if I can't question this Eagles team and I can't question what I've seen after Sunday, then I'm not a real fan. Because if I want to be a cheerleader, I'll join them on the sidelines. And it's the idea of you should be questioning what we're seeing from this team right now. They've given you every reason to question what's been going on. Now, if you say they have no shot and they're dogs and they're rotten, then Mike's point is very, very valid at that point. If you're bailing on your team, that's a whole nother issue. But the idea that this team can't be questioned, I got to tell you, I think this team gave you a ton of reasons to question them. And that's disappointing. That it's went that way.
I understand what Mike was saying. Like, look, they've given you nothing but good. Don't go off the deep end over one loss.
I don't think anybody's in the deep end.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't think it's been deep end. Yeah, like yesterday, I thought it was much more calm than I expected. I expected it to be a really rough day, and it was. I thought people were a little more calm yesterday than I expected. Pat, you were better yesterday than I expected.
Yeah, I think a big part of it was regular season game.
Right,
and you went from 10-1 to 10-2. You went from first in the division the first in the conference to first in the conference. So I think it'd be different if they were 8-3, but they weren't. Right. They were in a good spot. They could afford to drop that game. The road gets tougher, no doubt, but they could afford to drop that game. It sucked. The game was horrible and could have played out about as bad as you can imagine. But, yeah, a big part of it was the position they put themselves in going into that game.
See, I think it's the game, and we're efforting John Tortorella, by the way. I think it was the game, though, Pat, that if you were going to afford to lose one, it was the Dallas game. Because if you win the San Francisco game, the top seed's locked up. You're home free. Yeah. You got San Francisco out of the mix. And losing that game now opens the door on that. You can't lose another game without giving San Francisco the driver's
seat. Yeah, you'd hope.
And I think they could easily run. I don't think they could easily run this table, but I think they can run this table.
I go Dallas just because in the scenario you could lose this game and still win out.
Absolutely.
If you lose San Fran and you lose Dallas, at that point, I don't think a lot of people are confident in getting the number one seed.
Yeah.
So that's why I just looked at Dallas being the more important game and your ability to kind of drop one. We figured that they would lose one of these games in this stretch. You hope that it wasn't going to be San Fran or Dallas, but unfortunately, it was.
Yeah, unfortunately, it sort of went that way.
It wasn't pretty.
It wasn't pretty. I just think that the real fan analyzes their team fairly and looks at this, and Sunday should be the most eye-opening loss since the Tampa Bay game in the playoffs for the franchise, in my opinion. As far as an eye-opening loss that tells you things need to be addressed. the way that Howie Roseman addressed the roster after the loss at Tampa Bay in that wild card game, because they looked like a team that just snuck in and was happy to be there and then got trounced. Then they come back the next year and they managed to go to the Super Bowl. That was tremendous. This is a marching orders type of game, the San Francisco game. You saw what you were really, really bad at. You saw what needs to be worked on. Now you got to deliver.
Yeah, and do you have the ammunition to do it?
And they may not.
They may not. So where does the philosophy go? Does it go to, well, we got to outscore teams? You can't give up on a defense, obviously, but so many things have to get better in order to compete at a level that you have to compete at in order to win a championship.
Yeah, I think it's the Go Birds 10-2 says, you'd think we're 7-6 fighting for a playoff spot. It's comical at times. We get it. The team looked bad on Sunday, but act like it's the end of the world is crazy. The end of the world. Who the hell's doing that? You're making up false stuff. You're just like making up stuff to try to make your point. Nobody's saying it's the end of the world. But lose to Dallas, you not only opened up the door for someone else to have control of the number one seed, but you also open up the door in the NFC East. You then open up the opportunity you could lose the NFC East. And by the way, going to Seattle has never been a good trip for this franchise. It's not. I mean, if you just want to go, yes, everything's great. They lost to San Fran and they were dominated in every facet of the game, but everything's great. You're not evaluating it fairly. And nobody is saying that it's the end of the world. So you're trying to make up fake straw man arguments to back up your point. Nobody's saying that. But Sunday is a litmus test. Sunday night's a huge test. I got to see this.
Didn't we call this game last week?
Well, it was a measuring stick. I think it was one of the terms that was used. I want to see the rebound. And I know that this team can go score for score with Dallas. Absolutely score for score.
And San Francisco may have played absolutely by far their best game of the year when they came in here on Sunday. And maybe, just maybe, we've seen it happen in sports before. Play a great game. You had a game circled on your calendar. You take care of business, and then, oh, snap, what happened the next week?
Letdown.
I'm not saying they're going to lose to Seattle in their game this week or anything like that. I don't know if this was the springboard for San Francisco to being the best team in the NFL for the rest of the season, or if they did just that, played their absolute best game, and they can't match that for the rest of the season. I don't know. Let's see how it plays out.
Well, regular season, things that would bother me would be a regular season Super Bowl. To me, that seemed like San Francisco's Super Bowl. The way they swaggered in, the way they prepared, and God bless them, they went out and they did the job. They dominated you in every facet of the game. But maybe you put so much emphasis on that the letdown does come, Bob.
Maybe
it does.
They started the season really well, and everybody was like, man, that's the best team in football. Had a little bit of a dip. Maybe in their minds it was, yeah, we're a really good football team. Started well, hit a little bit of a slump. The Eagles game was their biggest game coming up. Maybe somewhere, some way, they said, come that Eagles game, that's where we're going to play our best football and ride it out for the rest of the year. I don't know.
It very well may be. It doesn't change what went down on Sunday. And when we analyze wins, that's what you do. You analyze the wins and you say, hey, this team, there are flaws. And to me, I absolutely, Bob, are buying into the idea this team's got to outscore people. That's the way right now is that Nick Sirianni and this offense, they got to unleash. Dallas's defense is poor against the pass. Poor. You're going to be able to get out there. You're going to be able to throw the football on them. So that's what you need to do. And you're going to have to outscore people. And that's going to have to be the way that it goes. In my mind, that's what you have to do.
Yeah, and that's okay. San Fran has a really good D, so trying to outscore them, that's tough. Going up against Dallas, they're going to score points. But you have to hope that the Eagles do too. There just needs to be diversity offensively, and I think the Eagles will be fine. Defensively,
I like that idea too.
Defensively, I don't think the fixes are maybe that easy.
Yeah, I do believe Sean Desai got pantsed on Sunday, but I don't believe that his let's just say his toolbox is not the same, and that's an analogy I use, is not the same as what the offense has. And you're right there you're asking a guy to do a lot with a little. And that's going to be something that has to be addressed. And I don't know how that's going to come about. I don't know how you can do it in the offseason. You'll deal with it. But this defense doesn't have enough. And that's why the side of the ball you're loaded up on, that's the one I want you to just start to exploit. Just outscore people. Try to put up 35 a game and ask your defense to give up 34. I mean, that's what you're at right now. It sucks. It sucks that that's what you're at. But the Chiefs were that way, sort of in their first Super Bowl, and then the second Super Bowl, they managed to get their defense better and worked it together and got some new faces and reworked it. So it's not something that doesn't have to.
Yeah, there's no clear-cut model of, all right, this is how you build a team. This is how you have to play. This will win you championships. The best teams don't always win championships. The best teams don't always become the Final Four of whatever it may be. But that's the reason you play during this regular season. The reason you play is because you're trying to become the champion of that season. And that's where we are right now with this Eagles team.
You're seeding for the tournament at the end of the year. You want to be one of the invitees to the party. And you're fighting for your position so you can demand a good seat at the table, like the top seed, which now potentially could be in risk if you miss a game. 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by the Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. Can you get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's? Sure you can. Just $29.99. For details, go to Bagster.com. So we thought we'd have John Tortorella for you.
Yeah, I'm texting with the PR people. They thought he was calling in also at 8:45. They just texted me and say he didn't call.
Maybe he was listening to the show, guys.
Maybe he was.
We gotta look inward here.
That could very well be the fact.
Maybe it's an us problem.
Well, it could very well be. We'll find out, and hopefully John will join us coming up. I do believe that when you look back at the first. You look at if you watch, and especially too, I always tell people, go watch the 15-minute games. And there were a lot of decisions on Sunday where I think Jalen cost them. And in the second drive, it was horrendous. It's just I don't think he's playing at an MVP level. And he was an MVP, Pat. He was the favorite going into Sunday, right?
Yeah.
I don't think the one thing I don't see is if you're thinking of an MVP quarterback, rarely did you say, boy, Peyton played like crap for 2 quarters and then was good in the second half. Brady was great for 1 quarter. He was terrible for 3. It's been, and I don't put it all on Jalen Hurts, but I don't see the MVP candidate, and I think it's something that they need desperately to show up. And he is going to be better in every statistical category that this team has got, except the turnovers. That's what's going to be one that ends up costing him there. So that to me says you got to look at the coordinator, right? You got to look at the positions he's being put in. You have to look at the game plan from the head coach, who's supposed to be an offensive guru, because if he's better in every statistical category, now he's got a great unit to work with. I mean, they're supremely talented. But to me, then, Bob, it has to go to coaching, right?
Well, I don't have as much complaints about the offense as others do. You've been sort of balanced on it with it. Yeah, his numbers are going to be better. The team scoring has been a little bit better,
now
if not
behind.
The same.
Yes.
I haven't had, we nitpick and stuff about the running game and who's in and who's out and all, but when the team's scoring in the same clip as they did last year, and we were happy as hell with the offense last year, I don't think we can rightfully start blaming, air quotes there, somebody for what's going on. I think the offense has been fine. You're going to have a record-setting wide receiver. Your quarterback up until last week was considered the MVP of the NFL by some. You have a running back that's averaging 4.5 yards a carry and is one of the top 5. Yeah, but he's one of the top 5 rushers in the league. I mean, there's so many good things about the offense. I don't know if blame needs to be laid anywhere. I really don't.
You said the offense is fine. You really believe that, watching this team 4 quarters a week?
Well, it hasn't lived up to the clip that maybe we thought, but was our clips unreasonable?
See, I don't think it's unreasonable considering they honestly have the most talented offensive team in the NFL. Them or Miami. But, Pat, I mean, it's got to be them or the Dolphins, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. As far as offensive talent, man for man, they're the most talented offensive team in the NFC.
Well, they had that last year, too.
And so I don't think it's unrealistic to expect them to be able to play at that clip and maybe even eclipse it and be a little bit better than they've been. And they haven't been really injured.
If you went before the season said the Eagles' offense is going to be just as good as they were last year, would you have taken it?
Yes.
And so statistically, that's kind of what it's showing.
Yeah, and that's one of the things where the stats, I think, are lying to us a little bit as far as this team offensively. And we saw on Sunday, they got throttled. They got this high-flying offense after a couple drives just was getting stalled and getting with A.J. Brown, with Devontae Smith. And honestly, Dallas Goedert hasn't been that big a part of the mix. And I keep hearing that, well, we get Dallas Goedert back. Yes, he's a nice little safety valve, but they don't use it. It's as if under Brian Johnson, they're not using.
But again, we've seen that when they want to, that they can. That's the thing about this offense. You want to run the ball and be dominant, you can. You want to throw to A.J. Brown and be dominant, you can. You want Devontae Smith to be your leading receiver, you can. You haven't used Dallas Goedert this week. Next week you need to use him, you do. Like there's if they put all of that stuff together, that's why I think the frustration comes out. It's, my God, what is really stoppable on this team? Because it seems as simple as, yeah, we want to do this, so we will do that offensively.
And the one thing, too, is last year I saw a team with much more consistent balance and a team that literally could get out to an early lead and bully people, then bully people with the run game. And more importantly, Pat, too, give guys time off, rest people. As you were talking about with the stats with Jalen, you picked Jalen to be better. I've got the numbers here. You picked Jalen to be better in every statistical category. And I wrote down what you said. You said, I think he's going to play more fourth quarters this year because of the schedule and who they played. Last year, he was getting yanked out all the time.
He was getting yanked out like 5 minutes to go, 6 minutes to go. Felt like with the schedule this year being way tougher that he would play more fourths. But I also thought that there would be a few, more than a handful of games where he was, leaving with 3 minutes left because they were up so big. And he hasn't left one game early this year.
No.
Yeah, they've been having to play all these guys. I thought it was a huge advantage going into the playoffs last year with the amount of rest that these guys got. Haven't gotten it this year. I don't know if it's probably a combination of the schedule and coaching and all of it, but it's just something I didn't really expect.
Do you think Nick Sirianni was too proud on Sunday to take Jalen Hurts out when he came back to the sideline? And to tell
proud
Jalen
was not even close to the word that was running through my head.
Thinking? Yeah, but what were you thinking? What was his motivation? Because what harm would it have been to let Marcus Mariota run the offense?
None. It would have been smart. The word that was in my head was exactly the opposite of smart. And I'm not calling the coach that word. I'm saying the decision was that. And there is absolutely no excuse, none whatsoever, for putting him back in the football game. It's ridiculous. It's almost as bad as, do you remember the year that Carson Wentz went to the sideline to get his head checked for a concussion, but it wasn't? And then he comes out and plays again, and Doug Peterson threw a play in where he had to go block.
Oh, yeah.
It was 10 times worse than that.
I don't understand what the message was, too. My idea was I don't want to see this game get even. I would like it now to be a tighter game. I want the score to be better cosmetically. And then I can say we fought to the end.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's ridiculous, but I can't figure out another answer.
No, I can't imagine that's what it was.
Could it be?
I can't. Unless he can't say no to Jalen Hurts.
That's what I wonder.
Yeah, no. Nick Sirianni has been in sports, specifically football, his whole life. For him to say, like, you know what? If we just make this a 42-28 game, the people out there think we played a little better. That's crap.
I want Jalen Hurts, though, I want to know that he has hand over Jalen Hurts. That Jalen doesn't get checked for a concussion, go back to the locker room, and then he has the right to say, I'm going back in that game.
I didn't see it in the press conference yesterday that he was asked, and I don't know if he was asked it. I didn't watch the postgame, admittedly, on Sunday night after the game. I I find it tough to watch post games after they get blasted.
Yeah, it's not as fun.
I don't know if he was asked, why did you bring Jalen back in? I didn't see it. If somebody did and can let us know, great. I didn't. I plead ignorance here. I did not see it.
I mean, it's just decision making is one of the things that we're dealing with right now. Is that the idea of what decisions, and do you trust it? Do you trust the decisions that are being made? And that's one of the ways that I question, is that was really strange the other night. It just doesn't make any sense to me the way that was going. But for the Eagles, they get Shaq Leonard yesterday, and they add a linebacker to the roster. And Pat, you're not going over the top on your excitement about it, but it is an improvement, as you were arguing yesterday.
Yes. Look, there's a reason why he was released from Indy, but this late in the season, you're not getting better than Shaq Leonard. And if you watched Sunday's game, the linebackers were a disaster. I joked around that Nick Morrow went into that game going, I'm going to prove to this organization they need another linebacker, because he was...
Because I'm not the guy.
Yeah, he was atrocious. And I'm not expecting an all-pro. I'm not expecting a 3-time all-pro. But I'm expecting an improvement over what they currently have. I'm expecting an improvement over guys that they released in training camp, and most of us had no idea who the hell these guys were. I'm expecting that. And that's all you can really expect this late in the season, is just a slight improvement. And if it's a slight improvement, then I'm all for it, because they didn't give up anything. They gave
right.
They had cap space. What are they doing with it? It's not going to roll over. So
and the tackling part has to be an improvement.
Yeah, it can't be worse. Pretty sure you guys could have.
No.
Okay. No, I went too far. I went too far.
Yeah, you
went
did.
Too far.
You went over.
But yeah, I mean, we had a caller earlier, and he brought up a good point. Like, Brock Purdy's passes were 5-yard passes that ended up going for 45. Like, his numbers are a tad bit inflated because of the fact that they couldn't tackle a lick on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the broken tackles left and right were just embarrassing.
I'm not calling Brock Purdy Joe Montana.
No,
but that's the offense that Joe Montana.
Yeah, it was the West Coast offense.
Joe Montana just dumped off, and yards after catch.
I saw Jeff Garcia do it for years in the same uniform. Like, look, but this issue had to be addressed. And he was down to 2 teams. It was Eagles and Cowboys. He's not going to be in the Cowboys. They clearly had a need too. So it's an improvement. I'm just not expecting. It's like Julio Jones. Like, I'm not expecting you to be prime Julio Jones, but I'm expecting you to be a possible improvement in, like, a blocking scheme over Quez Watkins. And for Shaq, I'm expecting him to be just an improvement over what they currently have, which isn't much.
And some of it is just being there. Like I told you, watching the stuff on him yesterday, on Leonard yesterday, he was there but didn't finish. Well, sometimes Eagles aren't even getting there. So if you're getting there and making a guy, a running back change where he wanted to go or where he could go, and now you have teammates there to help you, that could be a difference maker. Or I shouldn't say difference maker. That should be something a little bit better.
A little bit better. And that's what you want. And, they do it just a little bit better at Wawa. And right now, you call 215-263-0975. 215-263-0975. Gunner is going to find the first caller that he gets. We'll then try to recite the order that we've made today for our own Andrew Salchunas. And hopefully, Andrew gets things that he really, really wants. But Bob is pointing out maybe his item, he's hoping that he doesn't get it.
Yeah, I could go for some...
You could go some stuff that works that. So 215-263-0975. Pat gave the order in the 6. I gave the order in the 7. Bob gave the order in the 7. I gave the order in the 8. And if you can recite all 3 of these things that we've gotten for the Tunas today, then you can find your way to being the winner today. And we'll put you on the air and we'll see if you can recite it. So let's see who Brendan's going to get the caller up. It is Robert that we're going to go to in Wilmington. Hi, Robert. Welcome aboard, Robert.
Good morning.
Let's see if you can win. What was the order that we put together for Tunis today?
Oh, God, I just tuned in.
Oh, no. Why is he calling then? Come on,
Well,
we love you.
I
Call
appreciate him tuning in.
Yeah, I appreciate him
It's
tuning
going to be
in.
tough.
but-
You could take a stab at it, but you're not going to get it.
How about Patrick in Norristown? Pat, do you know the order we've placed for Tunis?
No.
What is going on?
At least he was on it.
Seriously.
I think people just hear a number and they're like, I can win.
I'll call in. I'll win something. No, you're not going to win the $50 gift card unless you can recite the order.
That's
All right, let's try.
amazing. No.
Dave in Ben Salem. This is my favorite time we've done this. Dave, how are you?
Hey, John. What's up, Bob?
No, it's Dave in Ben Salem. We know, Dave, you're going to be able to do this?
Struggling, brother. I'm still struggling over this loss on Sunday. So I need this Wawa gift card. I got to take care of my dog. I go and get my shorties and I treat him to some food. So
Nice. Well,
shoot him out. How do you need him? What order? From 6 to
no,
8
just as long as you give us all three, we're fine.
I'll give you all three, and I'll give you every one. Pat took the toasted ravioli for my man, the Tunis. Bob Cooney took, at 7 a.m., the pint of mint chocolate chip ice cream. And, John, you took the jumbo, and make sure I got it right, fruit assorted plate.
Yes. There it is.
I love you.
Dave wins
Good
it,
job,
$50.
Dave.
Thank you so much. My
Dave.
man, thank you.
How much does $50 at Wawa? How many stops is that
Oh, it'll
for
help
you?
me, man, because I go and I get the shorties. Sometimes I get my dog a little turkey there, a little turkey sandwich, roast beef. He loves it. You guys are the best.
Thank you, Dave. We'll put you on hold. We'll get the information. And now Tunis comes in. And Tunis, we took care of you this morning.
Sounds
at
like
Wawa.
a terrible order.
Okay, now listen.
Oh,
All right, tell me
God.
this.
A
Tell me
mint
this.
chocolate chip at 7 a.m.?
No. You
That
get that
worked,
order.
Bobby, that worked.
All right, mint chocolate chips, so Bob's going to eat it. So his was the worst. The toasted ravioli or the jumbo fruit assortment?
See, here's the deal. I've had the jumbo fruit assortment for breakfast.
Okay.
So I would go. I'm anti the mini ravioli. I'd
So
rather
I did pick the right thing.
because I like the jalapeno popper ones that they have there.
Oh, they're nice.
Yeah, they're delicious.
Great job, Tunis.
Thank you.
Great job. We're efforting John Tortorella. So that's part of the deal there. So, hey, every day you can win a $50 gift card to Wawa. So take care of her. Take care of yourself. You'll absolutely love what Wawa's got. And Wawa has you covered with gift cards for everyone on your shopping list. Not just Wawa gift cards. Happy holidays from Wawa. We'll see if we can track down the coach of the Flyers. And we'll also then be getting into much more with the Eagles, including the fact that, Bob wants to ask about disappointment. And it's not what you think. John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. We're very sorry that we weren't able to connect with John Tortorella. Hopefully we might, maybe before the end of the show.
We might, Rabbit. We might.
You might, Rabbit. You might. Hey, John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. And but Pat was very wildly confident. Weirdly, Pat, I wrote it down. You're weirdly confident that if we get an Eagles-Niners rematch. Now, does that mean, because Steve wants to know this one answer, was Pat's weirdly confident dependent on the game being here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, it's got to be here.
So someone doesn't say it, because how much does the idea of going to San Francisco after seeing that, does that bother you?
Yeah, not looking forward to that.
If that happened. And it's not necessarily
Yeah, I mean, in that situation, I'm favoring the 49ers.
Now, I don't like this. Aaron's answer to me, I do not like. He says, if you're not the number one seed, you can avoid Dallas in the divisional round. I think if you're worried about who you're avoiding, you can have a preference, but you would never choose to be the number 2 seed to just avoid Dallas, because it looks like if it comes to it, Dallas should beat whoever wins the NFC South. They should. We know with Dallas's playoff history, that might not happen, but you would expect it to happen. So whoever gets that number 1 seed is most likely going to get Dallas unless there's an upset below them.
Yeah, was it you or Tunis? I forget who said if you got the number 2 seed, actually your schedule is easier.
I think it would be, because you'd play. Let's put it this way: if you were the number 2 seed today, so you just look at it and say, okay, somehow the Eagles fall to the 2 seed. Your first round game would be against the Packers at home. Packers are red hot, but they're 6-6. They're young. They're flawed. Your second game, if the Lions held serve, would be hosting the Lions here. I think that'd be an entertaining game, but I don't think the Lions are ready to come in here and win. And then you'd be in the NFC title game either at home if somebody upsets the 49ers or on the road at the 49ers. Yeah,
when you look at it that way, you're still in a really good spot.
You're in a really good spot.
Yeah, this season isn't over if they don't get the number 1 seed. I mean, it's what you want. One less game, 2 home games.
Right.
That's all great. But, they could still do damage if they don't.
Tasty Cake Dom's on the line. Dom, I think you're eating the Pat Egan crimpet this morning on this one.
Yeah, well, John, sometimes in sports, you're not defined by your wins. You're defined by how you respond to losses, correct?
That is correct. Absolutely.
The first time Sugar Ray Leonard fought Roberto Duran, he got his ass kicked. In the rematch was one of the most brilliant performances in the history of boxing, right?
Okay, that's an individual sport. That's different than a team.
Okay, Duke, when Vegas ran Duke right off the floor, and then the next year in the tournament, Duke won the championship.
Yeah, it's the next year, though. It's not the same team. This is the same team we're talking about. The Eagles aren't going to be any different team when they play them, except if Shaq Leonard is going to make some big impact.
I'd love to see them again. I really would.
Wow.
Doesn't matter where, doesn't matter when. I believe. I believe in Sirianni. I believe in Jalen, and I think in a rematch we beat them.
So you believe they're winning Sunday?
I think that 10-2 record is very real, John.
So you believe they're winning Sunday at Dallas?
I believe they're winning Sunday.
Okay.
Yes.
Because that's a big one. That's important, because if they're not, I'm going to wonder where your belief is. Thanks, Tommy. I'm going to wonder where his belief is if they did lose to the Cowboys. Because then it would sound like bravado. If you lose back-to-back to 49ers and the Cowboys, then it sounds like bravado.
Well, the gauntlet or whatever you called it, that was a 6-game stretch?
They're 3-1.
You come out of it 4-2. I would, if we ran the tape back, I bet you 5-6 weeks ago, we might have even said 4-2 is fine.
No, I'd take 4-2.
Yeah.
Because I thought they'd lose at Kansas City, but I thought they'd beat the 49ers here.
Yeah, so maybe that's not bravado. Maybe it's okay. It's exactly what I thought would happen happened.
I thought they'd lose at Seattle. I thought it's not a fun spot. It's never been a fun spot for this team for whatever reason. I don't think it has anything to do with this year's club, but for some reason Seattle has been a house of horrors.
It's a tough place
for
to
the
play.
Eagles.
I mean, we've heard NFL players say it. I know people that have gone there to cover games. It's a tough place to play, no matter how good Seattle is, and they have a great coach, and they're always going to be tough. It's just a hard place to go and win.
Bob wants to know, you were talking about disappointing players. And sometimes it is, we blame coaches, we blame other things, but disappointing players can sometimes be the center of attention.
Yeah, you wonder. You look at this Eagles team, disappointment isn't a word that comes in at all, probably. But if you were to look at this team, and we're doing both ways. I'm not being doom. I'm doing disappointing and someone that's been your the guy you like the most. But who has been the most disappointing Eagle to you this year? It's hard because
it's Slayer Bradbury.
Yeah.
And it wavers. Like on Sunday, Bradbury was perfect.
Yeah, didn't give up a catch.
He had no negative plays against him.
Didn't have a target go his way.
Slay, they just targeted. They feasted on Slay on his side of the
They
field.
feasted on everybody.
They did.
I mean, it was just bad. But all right, so those are yours. Pat, do you have one? Yeah. Do you have one that you're most disappointed?
Kobe Dean. It's not necessarily his fault. He got injured twice, but your defense kind of hindered on that guy being the guy. And when he gets injured and is out for 4 weeks and comes back and, doesn't really look great, and then he gets injured again, it's another lost season for him. You redshirted last year, that's one thing, but this year was a completely lost season, and it's put them in a position where you do have Nicholas Morrow and Christian Ellis and, those guys out there. You do have to go get Shaq Leonard. Like, ideally, they never would have had to get Shaq Leonard. Ideally, Shaq Leonard signs another team, and we don't even think about it because your linebacking core is set.
Right.
But Nakobe Dean getting injured twice and not being a complete non-factor this season, that's been rough.
We don't know if he's going to be anything more than a special teams player, Nakobe.
We don't know anything right now. Like, we just don't. We can't say he's not a starter. We can't say he is a starter. We just don't know. I mean, it's not. We don't have enough proof yet. If he can't stay healthy, he's nothing. But all right, and so let's go the other way. Who's been your most enjoyable Eagle this year? I don't want to say biggest surprise, and I don't want to say who's been the best. But all right, let's go most enjoyable Eagle to watch this year for you.
A.J. Brown, when he was rampaging through the majority of the first 9 games, when he was just shrugging people off.
Yeah.
The way he was getting balls, contested balls, and then just pulling them in, hauling them in, and being very reliable. He's fun to watch. I love a physical wide receiver. But the funny thing is I love Devontae Smith, too. It's just a great combo.
Devontae Smith, I was driving to a pregame show one day and didn't have a feel for the game, was just kind of in a fog a little bit. And then Devontae Smith's name came up. I think Ray was on the air at the time. And I was just like, I got that feeling. I just love watching him play.
I love him, too.
I love watching him play. Pat, who would be your biggest, most enjoyable Eagle to watch this year?
DeAndre Swift, because I thought he was nothing more than a third down back, and he's proven to be a number 1 back. So he completely exceeded my expectations coming into this year. And when they've actually given him the ball and they've given him a little bit of workload, he's been great. And he's definitely flashed and looked the part. So
it's still a top 5 running back.
Yeah, A.J. Brown's, to me, that's the kind of obvious one because he's just been so dominant this season. And but if I can't pick A.J. Brown, I'm gonna go DeAndre Swift.
Well, you could agree with me.
But I agree with you. But for me, this is a personal thing. It's
right,
when I didn't think a guy was going to be a number 1 back, and I thought he was a nice change of pace back. For him to exceed the expectations and prove me wrong is great.
Nick in South Jersey joins us. Nick, welcome to the Fanatic. How are you, buddy?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, buddy.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a little bit insight of the last game that we lost.
Sure.
49ers.
Yeah.
Real rough one. I was just going to say, I think we got the secret weapon with Philadelphia this year. Mainly, all we want to do is bring back Michael Vick. That would be...
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, that's really good. I don't think they're bringing back Michael.
Man, that was incredible.
That was
thought-provoking stuff.
His build up to the the punchline was terrible. That was bad.
That was a punchline.
It's not that Matt. He says
terrible joke.
I mean, it's terrible. Yeah, I think that they are in a. I think they're in a fine position. But this week is it's put up or shut up this week. Honestly, to me, It's you get, because all year long you've been telling me we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. Nothing's been fixed. You haven't played to the standard.
Well, I don't know. You can't say that. Like, we hated the red zone offense. They went 12 for 12. It was bad again this week, whatever. Like, they've fixed some things. We can't say they haven't fixed things.
What else have they fixed?
Well, DeAndre Swift wasn't getting the
about, though.
DeAndre Swift wasn't getting the ball as much as we would have liked. They've kind of fixed that. Defensively, yeah, it's
the thing defensively.
Yeah,
I think they've regressed as the season's gone on. Some of that's due to injury.
Yeah, but look, they're 10-2. We can't say that they haven't fixed anything. They've had to fix something. They've had to done some things right.
Well, then we should know it, right? I mean, we should be able to see it and go, oh, yeah, this was a problem early in the season. And by the way, not giving DeAndre Swift more than one carry in the first game and then playing him in the second game, that's not fixing something. That's an absolute ridiculous oversight that got corrected. I'm talking about something where you said this was a weakness of the team, and now they've come up with a plan, and now that's fixed. It was a vulnerability, and they fixed it. Because I don't see it, especially defensively. I think they've regressed. I think they're getting worse. Now the competition's getting better, which is part of the equation.
Oh, yeah, that's a big part of the equation.
And that changes your stats, too. That changes statistics as far as who you're playing. Are you playing the better teams? And they're definitely playing the better teams. But I don't see where this, I expect a coaching staff to go in and fix things. To go in and get under the hood and say, okay, we're correcting this. I got to tell you, I don't see it.
Well, I mean, you're 10-1 at one point. What are you correcting? Maybe a coach can say, and this is devil's advocate here, what is there to? We're 10-1. We won 10 of 11 games. Where do you want us to redo and correct or rebuild the engine or do this? Tighten up, get better. Sure, you're always looking to do that.
You can tell me you're 10-2 all you want. Then I can tell you. Then how are you going to survive? How are you going to beat the good teams being 30th in pass defense? How are you going to do? How are you going to? And why should that ever be? Why should the Eagles ever be 24th in points allowed? How can you justify that with the talent that's on the roster? And yes, I do think Sean Desai has been dealt a much tougher hand than Brian Johnson. But there's no reason why you wouldn't be this Eagles offense is now down to 5th in scoring. They should not be they shouldn't fall out of the top 5. They should be one of the best scoring teams. They've got the best offensive talent in the NFL. But the Eagles being 24th in points allowed, that's horrendous. That's horrendous.
I can't say it's unexpected.
24th though?
Well, look at it. Before the season started, the linebackers, you were starting 2 guys that never started for you before.
Okay.
Your secondary, you had 2 older guys, and you didn't know who your safeties were. You picked up guys off the street to play safety. You lost your slot starter. So now you picked up another guy off the street to be your slot starter.
Yeah.
And we're saying, you know what? He's the solidifying guy. It's kind of crazy. Now, real quick on the John Tortorella thing. So, behind the scenes a little bit here. I don't know if he had the wrong number or not. He called a number at 8:45 and said it was busy, couldn't get through. We've been texting back and forth. He was out of pocket for a little bit.
Right.
He cannot come on today, but wants to get on as soon as possible.
We'll get him out. We're
it was
sorry
just
about
a mix-up of things. Yeah, I just want to be honest to the listeners.
Good job. Good job with that.
But, the defense, we knew it was a real concern going in.
I will tell you 100%, no one in Philly sports radio, in the fan base or otherwise, thought, we're going to be in the bottom 9 teams in football in points allowed at any point in the season. I don't think anybody believed we were going to be because I believe if they're in the bottom half, it's horrendous with the talent that they've got. I don't think they should be in the bottom half.
I never look at it that way. It's weird. I'm not that big of a numbers guy of you can't be in the bottom half of this or you have to and I'm not saying I'm right on it. I just never looked at it.
But 30th in pass defense?
That's their pass defense is atrocious.
That's atrocious.
Yeah.
That is, you're with the Commanders and you're with another really, really bad team. I forget which one it is. Those numbers are terrible. And by the way, they've trended down. The offensive numbers have trended down. Now, again, I always put the caveat. The competition's gotten better. But you know what's going to happen in January? The better competition, the ones that are driving your numbers down, they're the teams you have to beat in January. They're the ones you have to beat if you want to date in February. You got to beat them in January. And we're going to see if they can find a way to be able to, I don't know, fix it or whatever. And the Shaq Leonard stuff, you looked at it yesterday. I was watching some of the YouTube runs of him and reading some good stuff in the Indy Star. He's better than what they had. And that's what Pat pointed out. Pat, you pointed out he's better than what they had. I just wonder what kind of an impact he's going to make. And you and Bob are like, yeah, he's playing Sunday.
Yeah, he'll play.
That's going to be fun to watch to see how he's ready.
He'll play more than half the snaps, I'll say, or around half the snaps. Yeah, he's going to be out there. You didn't sign him to sit.
No, I got you. It's just it's a fast one, but it's got to be better, right? I mean, better than what we say.
What's got to be better?
They just have to. It's got to be better having him in there.
I hope so. Better than the last game. We sure as hell hope so. Anything's got to be better than that.
Eric joined the show. Eric, good morning. You're on the Fanatic. How are you, buddy?
I'm great, man. I'm calling from Chicago. Listen to you guys. Love
appreciate that, buddy.
Just want to mention, I know that the Eagles 10-2. I get a lot of flack from different fans all the time about the Eagles. We always getting hated on, etc.
Not Bear fans, I hope. I hope you don't have to deal with the Bear fans.
Yeah, those two. Right. And so, but the big thing is, to me, is 10-2. People got to understand this is the season that we're playing in right now. And you talk about beating the best teams. We beat the best teams already. The only thing that we just lost to, we beat
Buffalo. Buffalo's 6-6.
Bills.
No, the Dolphins is a big win. The Bills are 6-6.
When you came into the season, though, you didn't think the Bills were going to be a bad team.
Yeah, but we found out that they sort of are, though.
That's the season we're living in. So I understand, all these teams have just lost quarterbacks, et cetera. We're in a great spot. It's about playing the games when they count. That game Saturday we lost to San Francisco, it's a big loss, but it's not the loss. So we're right in the driver's seat right now. We just gotta win the games when they count.
Now, what about Sunday?
And I believe that. Oh yeah, we're gonna win this game.
So if they don't win the game, will your tune change?
No. They're gonna win this game.
Okay, I think they got a great chance to win it. Great chance.
They will win this game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
They know they're playing Dallas. They didn't know. I mean, they knew that we were to get a good San Francisco team coming in, but they know Dallas is our opponent, our enemy, bro.
When do we sweep Dallas, though? I mean, that's one that I like. The last time Pat and I couldn't remember this morning. Now we can Google it, but I mean, when's the last time they swept Dallas?
Eric brings it. I don't know. Eric brings up a good point that made me just think. He said they lost the game. They didn't lost the game. Is it more? Did San Francisco feel like they won the game?
Oh, I absolutely think they did. They feel like they did.
Yeah, I don't want to say a team takes a game more serious or is more motivated than another team. But, man, it kind of feels like that when you go back and you look at the way they marched onto the field, the talking that they did, the way they ran. You see people play with attitude. There's a difference. I mean, you see it in the schoolyard when you're playing against somebody you hate. You see it, in any kind of level of games that you watch. Somebody that has an attitude just seems to get to a different level sometimes. Deebo Samuel had that. It seemed like Purdy had that. The Eagles didn't. The Eagles didn't have an answer. Maybe it was San Francisco for them the game, and it wasn't for the Eagles.
Well, I think they made it their game. I mean, they honestly did. They made that. They built that up as their Super Bowl. And I just hope that we get what you have talked about, Bob, is the oversight game. I would love to see the oversight. I would absolutely love to see them looking past somebody and losing a game.
Yeah. A good team really doesn't do that often. They lost games because of injury. I thoroughly believe that's the reason San Fran lost. And they couldn't overcome that, and that's understandable. But God, they're a good team. They're so strong. Losing to Seattle this coming week, I don't see it. I don't see it. Although DK Metcalf is on fire right now. I don't see it.
Last year was a split. The year before that was a split. No, Dallas swept. The year before that was a split. The year before that was a split. The year before that was a split. Like the Eagles winning, Dallas has one sweep of the Eagles that I see in recent memory. You don't have to go back. You don't want to go back to like 2015, 2014. But one thing we've seen is the Eagles sweeping the Cowboys has not happened. So it's something that is another challenge for them that they haven't been able to. It's something they haven't been able to accomplish.
Yeah, I said to you guys before that, since I was a kid, and that's probably why this stuck with me, I just never have that much confidence for any type of Eagles team and whatever type of Dallas team you have. I just never have that confidence going down to Dallas. I have confidence when they go to Washington, no matter how good Washington may be. I have confidence going up to New York, even though, it's probably been 50-50 up there. And it's just me. I just don't have that confidence when they go into Dallas.
You brought it up, too. 2011 is the last sweep for the Eagles. So if your kid is in freshman in college, they were in first grade when the Eagles last swept the Cowboys. That's a bad stat. That is a bad number.
Well, you just, it's like you said, you can't compare last year to this year. You can't compare, you can't compare sweeps to not sweeps and splits and all of that. Yeah,
it is one. I just say that Dallas has had sweeps in that time frame where they've swept the games of the season in the season series. But I don't think that has anything to do with what's going down on Sunday night. And the more motivated team, I don't know who it is. Because Dallas has this circled. They didn't want to. They know if they have any chance to win the division, they got to win Sunday. It's a must-win for them. The Eagles know win. They lock up the NFC East. It's over. Up 2.5 games with the tiebreaker as the half with 4 games to play. That's over. So you will have won the NFC East pretty much de facto if you win on Sunday night. Now, the number 1 seed, you just got to keep winning. Because once again, you win your last 5, you'll be the number 1 seed. Lose one of those games, and then San Francisco has the opportunity to win their last 5 and be that. The Dallas trip up, though, again, we've talked about it, is much more likely. I mean, the Dallas tripping up down the stretch is incredibly likely. At the Bills next weekend, and then at the Dolphins on Christmas Eve, which I don't think is a good day to have anybody traveling, Pat. I mean, imagine those dads. Those dads got to put together toys at night. They got to play Santa, and they got to play the Dolphins on Christmas Eve on the road.
Yeah, that's gross.
That is a gross game. I don't know. Are people really going to be able to even watch it unless they play it earlier? I don't know. Like Dolphins.
A Christmas Eve game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you kidding me?
But don't you do stuff on Christmas Eve, like to have traditions that you're going around?
Sure. And you have the TV on watching the football game at the same time. Who says you can't do 7 fishes and 1 football? I mean, come on.
The Feast of the 7 Footballs?
I got no problem with it. I can eat and watch a game at the same time. I can converse with family and act like I'm interested in whatever the hell they're talking about and have an eye on the football game at the same time. No problem at all.
So nobody who goes to church can see this one if you're going to church for Christmas Eve on the Catholic side. You can't do it. If you go to the early game, you're going to miss it. I believe
go to midnight mass. Nobody playing on midnight.
I don't like the midnight mass. I did it once. And honestly, the communion line was like a conga line. It was swaying, Pat, like a snake. Like somebody was trying to put together like a one of those lines at a wedding reception. We're dancing. There were some people swaying in the lines. They had. I guess they had done the visitation in their neighborhood. Did you do visitation in your neighborhood?
No. People came to my house.
Okay, like the open doors where they have neighborhoods where you'll have the open doors.
Yeah.
And people will go have a cocktail, have something, and then go someplace else.
Yeah, my friends would all come to my house. My dad would a lot of times put on a tuxedo.
And you always said that's when he'd pull it out.
Yeah, because the next day was my mom's birthday. Christmas Day was my mom's birthday. So, yeah, Christmas Eve was a huge tradition in my house growing up. Yeah.
I think the Feast of the 7 Footballs, isn't that with Ricky Pitalico coming up on December 20th, the Feast of the 7 Footballs? Or is it, it's the Fishes?
Yeah.
Oh, so they're not giving it's not footballs.
He played baseball.
It's the great Baroni Feeney wines. And, Bob, I did it a couple years ago. It was spectacular.
I like wine.
Absolutely awesome. And by the way, they're pouring very freely.
Wow.
So if you...
I didn't get the invite, so I don't know.
I would say you...
Might have to check in with somebody, see if I'm allowed to go.
I think you're allowed to go. You're Bob Cooney, damn it. I mean,
Doesn't
come
mean
on
a whole
now.
hell of a lot anyway.
Is that you take the Uber, though, would be the suggestion if you're going to be out there to do that. Make sure, because they pour the wine freely. They don't say to you, oh, here's a little sip. No. They are absolutely doing
flowing?
it. Oh, it's great. It's great. And when you meet the family, they're fantastic too. So it is always
I'm in.
A great, great time. The Pat desserts, they had desserts too, so.
Can't make it.
They had desserts. I was thinking of you.
Appreciate that.
Being the dessert king. Because you are the.
Yeah, I love dessert.
You are the king of desserts. You know how to. And you kick your feet at a dessert.
Yeah.
You love it. So. Hey, get out there. I know Ricky Batalico will have that dinner for you coming up on the 20th and details all over. You can go to 975thefanatic.com and get yourself some more details there. So we're ready to close the book on San Francisco game?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Sure, we can.
We can close the book. I hope they can close the book. I hope they can get over the one of the things is the idea of being beaten twice. I hope that they don't. That doesn't happen, that they get, that you get beaten twice by a bad loss. That's what they can't allow to happen. So it is going to be really, really tough for them to battle. But look, they are a team that has shown resilience, has shown that they have the ability to fight back, but they're going to need to now. This is a gut check on Sunday.
Well, they've shown resilience in games. You're right there, and we've talked about that before. This is the first time they have to show resilience in the season. You follow me?
Right,
it's not an in-game thing. This is a seasonal thing. This is a playoff picture type thing. This is where they need to show seasonal resilience as opposed to just a game resilience.
Love it. And we will be all over it as the week goes on. Tomorrow, Adam Schefter joins us early on in the 8 o'clock hour. We'll have him. Be a great time. Pat's Takes will entertain you, too. We're going to have a fun time on a Wednesday. And honestly, turn the page. It's over. Now let's move on and see what they've got for the Dallas Cowboys because it's Beat Dallas Week. Hey, remember, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, David Auto Group, and our friend David Kelleher, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research today. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research is going to save lives like it did for me. Hopefully you have a fantastic day today. Andrew Salchunas will be with you next, and then the best show ever this afternoon, driving you home. You don't want to miss it here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I know the AACR, and I know the great work that they do. And as a 3-time cancer survivor, I think I can speak firsthand that the donations that you make that support cancer research are the key to finding cures. Their first-time donor match program that's going on right now is amazing, but it only goes on through the end of this month. Every single first-time donor is going to be matched dollar for dollar. That makes your donation twice the work. It's going to be awesome. It's going to help propel the next generation of the pioneering cancer researchers. That collaboration is important to prevent, diagnose, treat, and one day cure cancer. We can all dream about